Okay, how we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. The Remington pod is live just in time, of course, for Lakers Timberwolves Game 4 about to fire up. And I feel like I've got to take a walk, Chad. I need to go pace around real quick because that Knicks Pistons game that just got done. I was about to say finished up, but chat, pause. The Knicks Pistons game that just got over. Cade Cunningham versus Jalen Brunson. The Knicks end up getting a 1-point victory. May have gone down as the best game so far that we've had in the playoffs. It's just great moments throughout the playoffs as well too. But in the game last night, or the game yesterday, anyways, against Nuggets Clippers with Jokic in the final minutes. That series has been fantastic as well. This one that we're talking about, of course, with Knicks Pistons, has been outstanding outside of just the game today. But the game today was really phenomenal. And wasn't even the game that was just being played. Chad, of course, dramatic storylines. Brunson goes down. Chad Brunson gets injured in the game. He was, of course, dealing with that ankle injury throughout the course of the season. Seemed like he may have tweaked something in the lower leg at one point in the game, and then they were even trying to help him off, and he couldn't really even walk. But of course, Willis read the whole thing, and then he's back on the court. I think they said he had 15 points to round out the game after he got back in after the injury. So continued to play well, but again, that's 15 points sort of at the game. I don't remember if he entered the game in the third quarter or the fourth quarter, because make no mistake, Chad, it's a absolutely beautiful day outside right now. The weather's a changing. Summer is quickly approaching, so we are starting to hit this run of sunny days plus warm weather. It's time to get outside a little bit. So we're like, we can lay outside for this third quarter, I guess, and listen to the third quarter. So so then we definitely want to model our chat, but we definitely try to take pieces of Russillo's game and model ourselves after, try to lock ourselves in the house and watch all the games. But I guess we kind of want to be a more tanned Russillo, Chat. It is what it is. So we decided to lay out on the third quarter and just get a little sun while we listen to Knicks versus Pistons. But yeah, the shot making between Brunson was fantastic, and of course we know what Brunson's capable of accomplishing in the playoffs. We'll just see what this Knicks team, the collection of it as a whole, with Thibodeau as the coach, with Towns as the second piece, with Bridges as the third option, with the role guys. Like, we'll just see how far this collection is able to go. But Brunson just continuing to have these awesome performances as well too is kind of solidifying himself as one of those guys. It's like, okay, Brunson is in that level of guys where he can be that playoff level performer again. Just can everything kind of fit together and actually make a playoff run. But you see his level of shot making, and we talked about going into the series as well too, whether or not Cade would be the best player in the series. He made a real case for it today, especially, but again, Brunson wouldn't really let it happen, and it was really the combination of Brunson and Towns. Like, that's just a better 1-2 than what the Pistons are able to put out there as a second best option, and really Towns almost better than the Pistons, like kind of second and third combined. Chat, like Towns is that dude, Chat. Towns, it's hard to call a game. Was it game 3 or game 4? It was game 4. Pistons up 3-1, or Knicks up 3-1 now, going back to New York for game 5. But it's hard to call a game 4 in the first round like a defining playoff game for your career, especially since Towns, again, has made a conference finals before with the Timberwolves. So he's been in quote unquote bigger moments, and again, like, had accomplished stuff in those moments, Chat. Like, he's been good in some of those games, but the way he was making shots at the end of this fourth quarter, it really was more. I guess it could end up being a defining game of his playoff career. I'm not saying it couldn't. Randle for 3, Chad. Julius Randle. That's right, Julius Randle. The effective offense. It, do we need to adjust the brightness on the screen over here? Because again, nice day, but we're getting a glare, Chat. It is what it is. But anyways, what were we saying? Oh yeah, with Towns. We don't know ultimately, of course, what this playoff run is going to be. So I guess maybe the thought is we hope he has more of a more defined, playoff games. But this is really the proof of, if you just obviously had this performance later in the playoffs, then those games can become those defining games. Was that Hachimura in the corner for 3? Ooh, Chat. And I don't know, is the mask just a thing now? I haven't looked into the status of the Hachimura injury in a bit. So, Lakers fans, is that just the look he's going with? I mean, you got to have it. You got to have somebody on the team. Somebody in the playoffs, just in general, has to be rocking the mask. So, they didn't care who I was, John, until... I mean, but Rui, I guess... It's not till more he put on the mask, but we didn't care he was. So he put on the Lakers jersey, chat. And, I mean, he got better in LA as well, too, compared to the way he was. But, I mean, of course, he was kind of sneaky good. You go look at back some of those watch numbers, and it's just a completely different role as well, too, where you were expecting him to be... It is crazy to think about how his career has turned in a way, chat, because... Again, you think about where Washington brings him. He's the 9th pick in the draft, so that's always that weird spot where it's like, are we getting a franchise guy? Are we getting a role player? Are we reaching on a franchise guy? Should we play it safe? Like, what kind of... It's always kind of a weird trip-up spot in the draft, but they end up with, of course, Hachimura, and doesn't really have the three-point shot when he enters the league. So, again, it is kind of funny that now it's the 3-and-D aspect of, hey, yo, chap, but the three-point game and the defense is the... defining traits of his career. I was trying to think of some actual 3-and-D players, chat, who's maybe who's the old guy? Speaking of Pistons, Knicks, chat, who's the old guy for the Bad Boy Pistons that Lisa Ann was talking up? Is that John? I'm assuming. You can't go wrong guessing a Bad Boy Piston, but you want to get. You want to give credit where credit is due, Chad. It is what it is, I guess. But either way, what are we talking about? I forget. But the Rui Hachimura's career development, I guess. Hey, yo, but again, just the way you're like, okay, we're gonna bring him in, and again, it's like, what is he gonna be? So the Wizards don't really have much going on. He's kind of thrust into this. Role where he's expected to do a lot as like almost a lead scorer. Like, I don't know if we're gonna do like full, I don't know if we're gonna go down full either way, chat. Yikes, both of them are bad. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna approach a full Rui Hachimura corner here, but again, you'd go back and think of who's even on those Wizards team. Just who was he? Did he actually play with Advia and Kispert? With the Rui Hachimura, Advia and Kispert all on the same team. So you see what Advia's developed into. Maybe Advia and Hachimura together is actually not that bad. And Cooper Flag, if they just kept him around a little bit. But again, now you move him completely off the ball. He can just fly around on defense, focus on the 3 points and the cutting on offense. Like, he's, the man doesn't have to do any playmaking, and that's not to say good or bad. I mean, again, he's a better, this player is probably a better version of Rui Hachimura. But just when you take that aspect off the court and he's just free to kind of create and just hit shots off of other people, again, he's really become an effective guy. Like, if the Spurs got Hachimura, Chad, we're seeing him on the Lakers. It's a guy that I would feel confident in a playoff series. Like, him and Barnes, are they kind of on that same level almost? And Barnes, I mean, outside of a couple of clutch moments, Chad. Like, Barnes, of course. The Warriors won 73 games. I mean, they won 73 games with Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and Iguodala and those guys. But you go down the list eventually, you get to Harrison Barnes. They won 73 games with Harrison Barnes and the teams. They won more games with Harrison Barnes than Kevin Durant, chat. So, I mean, what does that say about Harrison Barnes' peak upside as a NBA player? But, again, he's, of course, a guy that is quote-unquote trusted in the playoffs. Unfortunately, missed the couple of shots that you probably wanted to hit. But throughout the course, again, proved that he could be reliable for a majority of the minutes. And if he got back to that opportunity, I'm sure there could be a redemption arc for Harrison Barnes, chat. He's just also been another guy that's kind of, he goes to Dallas, and it's like, are we bringing Harrison Barnes in to try to score 20 points a game? And it's like, maybe the three. Oh, LeBron, chat. The fadeaway corner three, was he watching that Towns performance in the locker room right before the game? I think they're probably on the court by the end of Knicks Pistons. So, I guess, they don't. We need to go to more games, of course, chat, but they don't actually show the games live in the arenas, do they? We've only been to, I guess, honesty corner, chat. We've only been to one NBA game in our lives. And speaking of Timberwolves, it was Timberwolves, of course. You're going to hit up some of the Midwest teams, so. So we have seen Towns play in person. We have seen Kawhi Play in person, chat. It is what it is. We were like, we got to go see Kawhi Leonard when he was on the Spurs, and now, what do you do, chat? What do you do? But, we got Wembanyama, so we'll. The pep in our step is back, chat. But of course, I gotta say, watch the Kawhi Leonard performances will never not hurt. Kawhi Leonard, that might be like, that's one of the toughest sports relationships out there, chat. I think and again, it's a different type of, because it's that like breakup-y type feeling where you get the other sports guys where they just like stab your other, if it's an opponent that just like stabs your team in the heart and just makes a killer play where, I don't even want to say the names, chat, but we know like the guys that have hit the massive shots against the Spurs in the finals and, in the playoffs, divisional round, like we know who some of these names are, but, that's a different type of a emotion than the what could have been with Kawhi Leonard, chat. The what could have, I mean, it's just like you just look at Kawhi Leonard so successful on another team hitting playoff shots, and it's like, oh man. Again, we're happy with what we love Wembanyama. I mean, great upside, chat, younger prospect. I mean, he checks all the boxes. But hey yo, another guy live streaming on YouTube talking about younger prospects, chat. But and a Lakers game at the same time, but day cap, chat, who knows? But what are we talking about again? We're all over the place, chat. We gotta stay on topic today. It is what it is. But I mean, we love having Wembanyama. Like Wembanyama's, again, if we were ranking guys in the league, who do you want to build your franchise around? Everybody's still probably taking Wembanyama over Kawhi, but it's a weird. You're in the playoffs right now. You're watching. I mean, again, the future of it, we understand the bigger picture, but just watching what Kawhi is accomplishing in the playoffs, really, and you would assume that are we frozen on the thing? There we go. We're back. Okay. You would assume that a lot of guys could be more durable than Kawhi, and not to necessarily Kawhi's fault. Like, there can be things that you just can't, like if he's got a degenerative thing and you've got to manage it in the regular season, which I think has been something that has been a little bit not necessarily overlooked with it. Like, make no mistake, he gets criticized for being injured and not out there. But again, it's like, can you criticize him? Like, and again, like, I can't believe I'm the one rushing to the defense of Kawhi Leonard in this spot. But, and I feel like if you check the tapes, we probably bring it up. Make no mistake, again, we'll share our feelings about Kawhi Leonard, chat. We've still got some, it's still a bit of a soft spot. Pause, but if he's got this thing that you just can't necessarily avoid, like the fact that he's almost out. I mean, we know guys in NBA history that have been injury prone, and do we know did Derrick Rose have like a medically labeled like degenerative type stuff? Like, obviously the injuries took their toll over the course of the career, and he never really could, unfortunately, not get injured after an extended stretch of basketball. But again, like, it's like, okay, Kawhi Leonard's literally, his body's working against him. So like, what do you do at that point? You just hope that you manage it correctly in the regular season. You get him to the playoffs, and you hope that you're still able to. It's not like a cross your fingers situation, but it is almost a little bit like cross your fingers and hope that you can get to the playoffs with healthy Kawhi. We can't do matchup, but like at most you're talking 28 games if you go all 7 games for each series. And I guess if they were a play-in team now, there would be even more games potentially. You just have to sit Kawhi for the play-in games. If you had made the play-in games, you might have, chat. But but again, like even with the upside that we think Wembanyama can get to, there is the guy that can be, of course, and we know the levels to this, chat, but there's the guy that's the awesome player in the league, and then there's the guy that is just in these playoff games, hitting these dagger moments, totally reliable. Like, Kawhi is as reliable a superstar as anybody that has ever entered the league. And I know, again, maybe this Clippers series, like if we actually went and looked at the numbers, there were a couple of games where you're like, okay, the shots, or I guess the series against them versus the Nuggets. Let's pull up the box score again from that day. And again, at the end of the day, Jokic hits this insane shot over Zubac at the end, and then goes for another insane shot from 3 at the end, and then Gordon, of course, gets the tip-in dunk. But Kawhi, yeah, I mean, he wasn't like the brilliant field goal performance in this game. So it wasn't not necessarily, the box score to look at and be like, okay, the brilliant Kawhi Leonard performance. But again, just through this series, it is tied 2-2. So this is going to be a battle series. I mean, we definitely thought it was going to be. But just to see the level of shot making that he can get to, and it's interesting to see him with Wemby as well too, because of the two-way aspect of it, where of course Wemby's two-way ability is a different thing with the shot blocking aspect, and Kawhi's got the perimeter, he can defend the guy on the ball, he can get the steals, and it's a different dynamic. But and who knows what's better necessarily. Again, Kawhi can switch out and maybe defend more positions one-on-one, but at the end of the day, if you're going to go to the basket, like, Wembanyama's got to be there regardless of who it is, so he's still impacting all five guys in the same sort of way. But just to see the way that he's able to control a game defensively and then go down to the other end and hit the shots, like, that's all. And I make a mistake, Chad. I think my, not necessarily worries, but just like antennas up for Wembanyama's career and like what the upside of it is. Like, that is the last piece of it, I think, for Wemby, because I think we already know that he can control a game defensively, whether or not and what it'll look like in the playoffs. Because again, not that Wembanyama's Gobert, like, he has the offensive thing and the switchability thing as well too, and he's flying around in the perimeter. Like, with all due respect to and Gobert is a really good athlete. Like, you see some of the stuff with Gobert in the workouts, dribbling around, like, hitting, like, the Gobert versus Wembanyama one-on-one that was surfaced when Wembanyama started to gain mainstream popularity. You're like, wait a second, I know this Wembanyama kid's impressive, but Gobert's kind of cooking in this one-on-one. Like, this is I didn't realize Gobert was this good at basketball, with some of the offensive stuff, Chad. But he just doesn't have necessarily the same, like, I can't necessarily picture him switching out on the perimeter or closing out to the perimeter as well too, the same way that Wemby does, which is the other sort of skill that's unique to him. And to be honest, the only other guy that was as dangerous on a closeout block attempt was probably like peak athletic Zion. I don't know if that is totally accurate or not, but you think a lot of course, again, the amazing shot blockers throughout history, like Duncan couldn't close out for three the way Wembanyama could. I mean, he could close out for three, of course, but just the athletic leaping ability, is he going to get up there and block a three-pointer? Probably not going to happen, chat. Maybe if, Muggsy Bogues was taking the three-pointer, then Duncan just doesn't have to necessarily get off the floor as much. I don't know. Or, like, what's the list? Did Muggsy Bogues even play with Tim Duncan? Or not, Muggsy Bogues never had a Spurs run, but did he play into the... Yeah, 2001, so they could have matched up. I don't know how many games he was playing here at the end of his career, but I imagine he was contributing. Okay, so Duncan, of course, 98-99, chat. And then Bogues would have got a couple of seasons there to at least have a chance for the teams to play. So that season, 36 games, then 80 games the next year. Of course, for a lot of his career, are really good. I guess, was he a sixth man? He never won sixth man of the year, but bounced back and forth between obviously capable of being a starter. Started a ton of games, but really used off the bench. Pause. So and double-digit a scorer as well too. Chad, a couple seasons in there, almost 11 points a game a couple times. Shout out the '90s Charlotte team, of course, is iconic. So always fun to go back and revisit some of those names, but. Again, just like if a guy taking a jump shot from the perimeter was like if I had to start drafting people to block that jump shot, like, obviously you're taking, like, obviously I think for our generation, if there's guys like if we did Ralph Sampson, but then you get some of the 3-point era as well too. So we also got a draft recap as well too up on the second screen right now, because I guess we didn't want to necessarily see, like, was there some, like, other alternate football league, maybe some playoff hockey? I don't know. Like, let's just run the draft recap and get that going. Because make no mistake, we will be addressing Shedeur Sanders getting drafted by the Browns in a little bit. But they just showed on this version of the broadcast, because this is the NFL Network broadcast, and we didn't watch that one, of course, live when it happened. But they showed Anthony Richardson tweeting out that the Tyler Warren pick, he really liked the Tyler Warren pick. We got a dog. So I mean, you love to see it. I think you watch the tape, chat. Tyler Warren, definitely, a dog. Pretty good way to describe him, I guess, in a complimentary way, chat. But always good to see that the quarterback is. And I guess I'm just Anthony Richardson. I'm still giving him the quarterback label, chat, because we got another one in the draft, Riley Leonard. So make no mistake, the what do we got here, chat? Shout out to the free ad for StatHead, I guess. But the quarterback camp camp rankings are going to be really crazy. I don't know how the Spurs or the Colts bumped themselves up the list there with the Riley Leonard edition. But it's funny, Sam asked me actually today where he was like, he DM'd me, what is the upside for Riley Leonard? And I was like, probably worse Daniel Jones, if we're being honest. But hey, at least, I was going to say at least we have a type, but I don't know, chat. We'll just have to see what happens, I guess, with the quarterback room. Anthony Richardson's looking around like, wait a second. This is not good, but I think if we trust, still the upside of any of those guys, Anthony Richardson's the highest, so that's still something going in his favor. But again, the Wembanyama in the playoffs, offensively, his ability to hit some of these shots in the end of games and fourth quarters to go toe-to-toe with these other superstars is going to be either the thing that sets him apart as one of the, and you start what it, of course, even is the list, but one of the 7 or 8 guys. I think that because even with some of the defense and with the 3-point shooting, again, you see the way Towns is playing today. Towns, I think, do we have to pull up the player rankings here, chat? I guess I might be able to. I'm gonna have to pull this up on a second screen because it's in the drive and I don't want to expose the login information. Make no mistake, we've been known to do that in the past, chat. But let me go back to our 2025 player rankings real quick and see actually where we had Towns, because I'm not updating it after every playoff game. I figure we'll wait just big picture after individual playoff series finish up and then make the big changes after that. So, Ja and Jared Jackson and Bay and some of the Grizzlies guys, now that they're out of the playoffs, their movability in the list, chat, has been unlocked because now they're out. But where do we have Ja at? Oh, chat, I don't even want to say. We had Ja. We were still being optimistic, and it was still not as highly ranked as you'd want to put Ja. So we had, chat, we had Towns. We had Towns ranked behind Mobley. That's tough, chat. Is that a little futuristic versus some of the current stuff? The way Towns is playing offensively today, and again, Mobley defensively versus Towns offensively can become a battle. But again, you see the way Towns is able to impact a game. Wembanyama can be Towns-ish level, I think, with his defense and then whatever the offensive game that he has right now, if that just gets refined, some of the jump shooting stuff and then some of the post play that we've seen develop. But that'll obviously be, again, the thing that separates him from. But yeah, the reason I was bringing up Towns is because Towns is going to move up this rank just based on this performance. Again, I guess we'll see if he just puts up an offer in the divisional round of the conference. I guess because they'll be up against Boston in this divisional round. So, that's going to be a battle, chat. And that is not obviously a great matchup for the Knicks as well, too. But, I mean, he definitely even has a chance to solidify himself more in that player ranking. But he's still, I don't know. And I guess, again, anything is possible still. But don't know if he would jump up past Edwards at this point. And again, this is a little futuristic, a little, I guess, comparison, however we want to lean the bias, just to prove our point in the player ranking. Because we have Cade in the top 10 in this player ranking already. So, that's probably a little, premature after the season. But I don't know, Chad. I think we had him on third team All-NBA. Yeah, I'd have to go back and I guess pull up the. Oh, did we have All-NBA on this list? Let me see. Oh, no. I think we might have had that on a different list. Or we deleted it for some reason. Who knows? But yeah, with where Cade is at on this list, honestly, after the performance he had today, it's just him locking in this spot. Because again, at 9, I guess we did the episode, so it wouldn't be a spoiler to unveil our ranking. But and I feel is this even updated, chat? Because I have Shea over Giannis, and I know that's not true. I guess we were we were giving respect for Shea in the MVP vote, and it's not a bad take either. But I just know I feel like sometimes if I forget a note I make, like I go back and I'm like, okay, yeah, like I trust myself, like that makes sense. I've, you know, consistent with the way I think, but that's not true, Chad. I don't believe that. I can't believe I put Shea over Giannis, but it is what it is. But we had Jokic, Shea, Giannis, Doncic, Steph, Tatum, LeBron, Edwards, and Cade, and really, I guess the thing that the player that, you know, could be fluctuated here, of course, is LeBron with Edwards and Cade. You know, younger guys, but guys, of course, the upward trajectory and them as lead guys on their team versus could LeBron carry a team in the playoffs the same way that, you know, the way that Edwards did even last year, getting his team to the conference championship. But, you know, it is tough because LeBron not have the performances Cade had today against the Knicks. Like, at the end of the day, again, the Knicks or the Pistons are probably a guy short. I mean, literally a point short today is how close it was. But, you know, probably a guy short with some of the shot-making stuff at the end of the games. And, you know, again, could LeBron go out there and put up stats and still be a guy short and, you know, lose some of these playoff games? Like, probably still possible, chat. So I'm not saying our player rankings are way off. But, you know, you could view it in that way if you want to just start doing the future stuff, you know, right now and just ranking LeBron below some of these younger guys. But again, like, is Towns is not going to jump up in, you know, potentially, I guess I'm going to say not, like, write it off the table. But as of right now, you know, I'm not betting it to jump up past the Cade Town, you know, or the Cade Edwards tier of, like, he can be a number one guy on a title team. But again, even that Cade Edwards, I guess Paolo, you know, he'll get moved up this list as well too. We had him down the list a ways a little bit because I guess this, you know, looking at like where Paolo is at on this list, because we have him one spot above Jalen Williams, which we have Towns, Paolo, and then Jalen Williams at 16, 17, and 18. So again, like the future stuff, I'm just telling, like, I feel like you can check the tapes. You know, we're taking Paolo over Towns, but Paolo was hurt for half the year, so you got to give Towns his due respect. And again, like Jalen Williams versus Banchero, you know, you could make your argument. Jalen Williams is a great player, but Banchero as a number one option is, again, move him up into this short list. So then, you know, it starts turning into, like, you know, now we're just copying the trade value rankings, I guess, at this point. But, yeah, even that list of those younger guys, there's still an unproven aspect to it where, you know, Cade, again, it's still, okay, he's proving that he can go toe-to-toe with these superstars, and he's having these clutch performances, but, you know, again, he hasn't still proven that he can be the number one guy. So it's just continuing to make those shots, you know, again, throughout the course of the playoffs is, you know, again, bringing it back to Wembanyama going to be the thing that separates him from, can he be Towns? Can he be one of those guys? It's like, because again, with the way Towns is playing today and with the way that he played even last year to get that team to the conference finals, it's like, yeah, Towns can be on a team that wins the title. And I don't know if that's a hot take at this point, but I do feel like that is something that we probably have debated over the course of his career. And oh, chat, they're showing highlights of the team up north against Michigan. We got to look away for a second of the draft. Judkins, shout out Judkins. He's a great player, but we can't have that in the studio, chat. IT, turn the TV off. Turn the TV off. It is what it is. If Kendrick wants to make us turn the TV off, put up some Buckeye highlights, chat. It is what it is. But, you know, fire up highlights of last year's playoffs, and then it's like, oh no, you know, TVs, burn them, throw them in. Ron Swanson, the TVs right into the dumpster, chat. It is what it is. But again, like watching Kawhi Leonard, I guess to bring it all the way back around full circle, chat. Yikes! This is not even a circle. This is a maze of. It's a labyrinth of. I don't know if a labyrinth is a shape or more of a thing, like a, you know, just another name for a maze. But it's if you would just draw out the path of a maze. This is this train of thought, I guess. But to bring it all the way back to what we were saying with Kawhi, like the tough part about watching Kawhi is we knew we had that with Kawhi. We knew we had that shot maker aspect with him. And again, we knew the cheat code aspect of Kawhi was he was also this great defensive player where, you know, the Warriors, of course, in that run with Steph, you know, they're awesome. And you see now they're awesome because Steph is so good offensively. But what made them even more dangerous, and Edwards for three, chat, the Lakers were up there a little bit as the first quarter was coming to a close. But Timberwolves on a little bit of a run, 27-32. Edwards hounding Luka at the top of the key. But again, DiVincenzo swoops in from the blind side. He botches the layup. Edwards botches the layup, but it's a foul on Finney-Smith. Sneaky steal, though, by DiVincenzo. You love to see it. Doncic, Jokic, obviously those top-tier ball handlers. It's difficult to just sneak up on him from any way, and Doncic definitely saw him. He did look away, though. DiVincenzo took advantage. Swooped right in. And I think Doncic just thought there wasn't a lot of space between him and the out of bounds and where he was out on the baseline. He didn't think that DiVincenzo was a swoop around from that angle. But again, it's like DiVincenzo has to stay in bounds the whole time and clearly got back in enough to reestablish. Can we get a replay on that? Yeah. Yeah, really, he didn't even go out of bounds at all. That's just great, quick defense there by DiVincenzo. That's why you love him as a asset to your team. But again, the Warriors, of course, were dangerous because they had the full team around Steph as well, too. And that's why not just why they were so dangerous, but why they were an historic level team. Again, winning 73 games, being in the finals all these years. It's because it was the perfect team around Steph. They had the defense, of course, or they had the shooting, of course, with Klay and some of the spacing stuff. And Draymond's defense as well, too. But, you think about Iguodala's defense as well in those finals against LeBron, but just throughout the playoffs where Draymond was again, a little more free safety-ish, kind of, you could play him around the basket, protect, kind of sneaky like rim protector, but could still, with his, versatility, switch out of the defense and switch onto the perimeter and still lock down a guard if he needed to at the peak of his powers. But Iggy was that full, just throw him on the guy on the perimeter and he's just going to totally take out whatever, lead score or at least make life real difficult for him that you'd want. And again, like Kawhi, we had that with both players, so it didn't really matter whoever you brought in on the team. Because, you had Kawhi, it's like Travis Hunter. You already have the defense and you already have the receiver, you already have the cornerback. Let's pull up the Drags draft here real quick as well, too, while we're thinking about it, because I don't even know if the Jags drafted a cornerback in this draft. I mean, they drafted Travis Hunter, but I think, or maybe I'm thinking about it the other way. I think maybe they drafted a corner and a receiver. They're like, just in case, it doesn't work out. We got to have options both ways. But I'm trying to think. That's why I want to, I guess, look at it here and see what they did. Pause as a full team for the 7 rounds. And, you start getting into the likelihood of some guys making the teams in the later picks versus, of course, we know Travis Hunter is going to be a starter week 1, day 1. But, yeah, they did go Ransaw with the 2nd pick. So, yeah, that's what it was. Immediately just... okay, in case, I guess that was we're going to play Travis Hunter at receiver pick type thing. But, again, they gave up that 1st round pick for him next year. So they gave up 2 players to get the 2 players. But, regardless, chat, it's like whatever the team was around Kawhi was always the best defender and the best offensive player on the team. So we never had to worry about filling those 2 spots on the roster. It was just get the role players around him, get the secondary shot guys. You think about that team that we had that was going toe-to-toe with the Warriors team. It's not on the level of the Warriors team, chat. It was not at all, talent-wise, player for player, close to what the Warriors were putting out at that time. We had an older Ginobili at that point as, a name guy. LaMarcus Aldridge is still, an all-star, sneaky all-NBA guy. But, again, if we were ranking players, you could... There was maybe a case that Kawhi was the most valuable guy of that collection. Again, Durant and Steph, you're probably going to say maybe we're actually the 1 and 2 best players in the series still. But Kawhi at the peak of his powers, it's an argument. But regardless, LaMarcus is still... And then you're probably arguing LaMarcus versus Klay at that point, and then it just becomes, well, we've seen LaMarcus be a number 1, but Klay's skill set probably works more in any team, so you're probably just going to gravitate more toward Klay as a player. And then, if you want to start doing real trade value stuff, you could probably even start getting into some, I guess Draymond, we already were just assuming, Draymond over LaMarcus. And you could probably even get into some Iguodala versus LaMarcus debates. And make no mistake as well, if the death beams pointed at the Earth, and the Martians got the spaceship lined up to attack us, you're definitely taking Iguodala over LaMarcus Aldridge at that point. But, I guess for the rest of the game, for the rest of the series, for the rest of the season, I guess you could still, like we're saying, potentially argue yourself for Iguodala. So Kawhi, even with his second best player, was working with a guy that was way down the list in that series. And then you had Kyle Anderson as a starter, Jonathan Simmons as a starter, who was, I love Jonathan Simmons is one of like just my favorite, respectfully my favorite random Spurs. If we can use that title, again, if that's like a respectful way to label a player, because we're saying favorite, but the randomness is just it's a one-word way to sort of summarize. Again, like a great journey to get. I guess we're not even using it now that we have to explain the one-word summarization. Defeats the whole point. But you get it, chat. We're saying that in a good way. Just like, oh, where did Jonathan Simmons just out of nowhere is all of a sudden in the rotation and being a contributing guy? And now, wait a second, another team's paying Jonathan Simmons too much, and he has to leave for Orlando. But that's just not a team that should have even like, outside of Kawhi Leonard, had been in a position to be competing with the Warriors, and it may be feisty, LaMarcus and, if we just make that a Blazers team and it's LaMarcus and Dame and Jonathan Simmons and Kyle Anderson, like it's still probably as good as, any of those Blazers teams that they put out there around. Like I guess that LaMarcus, Batum, Wes Matthews, like that was a pretty fun lineup for those Blazers teams for sure. But again, it was like just how awesome Kawhi was and just how menacing he was as a two-way guy and just how much he could totally take over a game defensively and then switch that back to the offensive end. Like a lot of it was him just creating those buckets in transition, but then again, just like giving your team more possession, stopping the other team as well too. And I mean, that first game until we went out, of course, the Warriors just weren't necessarily playing well either, really, but the Spurs athletically, like Kyle Anderson's a good defender. I guess maybe not the first guy to bring up athletically. I was thinking Jonathan Simmons when I said that. Like, he was a good athlete. And we also had Ginobili and LaMarcus on that team. So we had two good athletes, chat. We had Jonathan Simmons and we had Kawhi Leonard at that time. But I'm trying to think who else. We're going to have to pull. I'm a bad Spurs fan, chat. Let me pull up that. Should we go through the Ginobili basketball reference page instead of the Kawhi page? That was close. We almost went back to the Kawhi page. But no. Let's just go ahead and take a quick scan at our boy Ginobili's career here, chat, real quick. Oh, yeah, Patty Mills, of course. How could I forget Patty Mills? Parker still hanging around on the team. Oh, Rudy Gay, chat. This was the Rudy. Oh, Pau. How could I forget the Pau Gasol run as well, too? Danny Green. Of course, I mean, yeah, he would have still been on the Spurs at that point. I've just been so focused on Wembanyama in the future, chat. And again, just the Kawhi Leonard aspect of this team, it just makes this series and everything. This is the most we've honestly thought about that series in a minute. But again, like it's Kawhi and Rudy Gay and Pau Gasol versus Steph Durant, Clay and Draymond is not really the most even matchup. A young DeJounte Murray. I guess Derek White. Brandon Paul, chat, 64 games. I forgot about Brandon Paul. I had a lot of... IT, call the accountant. We still might have some Brandon Paul stock. What do we got, 33? I mean, just because he's not in the NBA doesn't mean the stocks still don't have value, chat. If he's turned it up somewhere in like a international league, or maybe coach, can we roll his player stock over into any kind of coaching or post-career stock? I don't know at what point do we have to retire the stock for the guys. Do we keep the stock after the players retire, chat? It's like the business moves that if we find out that Brandon Paul has opened like 60 fast food franchises, take your pick on which fast food, chat, but if he's if we find out he's just opened like a chain of restaurants or something and become a successful business guy, then does that mean our stock is way up? Or I guess not. The post career is not always super successful either. It's like, oh, what happened? Well, this guy retired and then went off the rails and now wiped out our funds, chat. But yeah, apparently the one Brandon Paul season was not great statistically, but there was a G League, Summer League stretch in there. I don't know if we're gonna necessarily go full pull up the 2017 Spurs Summer League team, but just the whole Jonathan Simmons run, chat, was great. Was Simmons not even on this team? Was he on the team the next year, maybe? I mean, he was fun on this team regardless of when he was there. I guess we use him in Wait, am I just missing his name? We just use. Hey, yo, pause. Hey, yo, whoa, whoa. We don't use him, but he's just the guy that we remember instead of Kawhi, I guess. For some reason, it's like we need to just pick a wing, chat. Why am I not seeing his? Is he in the stats? Do we have to just look up his? Maybe he was off the team the year before, chat. Let's see here. What happened to our guy, John? Oh, Johnny Simmons. Is this going to take us way back? This is our random player of the day? Yes, it is, chat. All the way back to 46, 47. Wow, almost 80 years before another John Simmons was in the league. But yeah, 16 to 19. Why is it not popping up here, chat? Oh, yeah, because he was in Orlando that year. So he was there the year before. But yeah, so he lost. It was in that conference finals series. That, and maybe just the Kawhi Leonard tenure is so foggy, chat, that this is the series that I'm thinking of. Again, I'm just trying not to remember it too much. So, and again, a couple of years losing to the Warriors as well too is, it's all foggy in there. The Durant going to the Warriors, and then it's like, wait a second, well, if anybody, and that's the other thing, it's like if anybody in the league, who's going to guard Durant, who's going to guard LeBron at the time as well too in those finals. It's like, well, okay, we do have the one guy equipped for this. So that, again, like speaking of Wemby, is why he is uniquely equipped to replace Kawhi as a franchise guy in that type of way, because he provides that two-way capability. And again, a different thing, but he can, regardless of who you can bring in, we know he can be the best defensive player on the floor. I guess in the case for Wembanyama, of course, if we want to think optimistically about the guy who we have our franchise built around, of course, as we probably should, and this is the most generational prospect of all time, so we shouldn't probably be starting to take for granted already after 2 seasons the prospect that we have. But where he is at offensively is, of course, more advanced than Kawhi. I think the difference with Kawhi has always been offensively, he's known kind of what he's capable of. So again, Wemby walks into a different team. Wemby walks into the team immediately as a star player. And you think about Duncan walks into the team immediately as a star player, but with Robinson and with a team that, is immediately set up to go win a title, of course, thanks to Tim Duncan being on that team, and they get Popovich. But it's just a better, more experienced, farther along, playoff-ready team that Tim Duncan walks into. And, of course, he's just a more experienced player as well, too, playing 4 years in college. But Wemby walks in immediately into a rebuilding team that needs to take steps forward to even get into that playoff competition. And he's a less developed prospect who's going to be relied on more offensively in tougher situations as well, too, like we're saying, due to some of the roster deficiencies maybe around him as well compared to the teams in the past. So it's a unique spot for him as those star players, because like we're saying, and then Kawhi goes in as this role guy who now all of a sudden a couple of years later you're like, wait, is he gonna be like an offensive threat? Is he gonna be the lead is he gonna be like the best player? Like, how far is this gonna go with Kawhi? He's gonna be the best player in the league? Like, what's gonna happen here with this menace that he's turning into? But again, like we're saying, Wemby's already farther along defensively. It's just that there is something to that as well too, where, and I think he's pretty comfortable. It's just some of that 3-point stuff, of course, is a little outrageous. But this is brutal, chat, because this is again about as, and I know Jokic is as tough of an opponent as you can necessarily face in terms of an individual player. At literally any point in NBA history, like, this is about as difficult a player matchup as you can have. Jokic is playing as well as anybody has played the game of basketball at the peak of their powers, especially, offensively as well too. But this is as good as Kawhi has been set up to make a playoff run. And the OKC series, like we said earlier, Snoop Dogg said that he thinks the Clippers could, and Snoop's in LA, Chad, he's watching these games. I don't know if he's making the flights out to OKC to also watch the Thunder games in person, but the man's seen some basketball. He knows a thing or two. I think, just value Snoop. Of all the people's opinion we value on this pod, chat, I think Snoop Dogg's opinion, maybe on the Clippers. I'm not saying, I think with everything, you got to, of course, think for yourself. You got to pick and choose. Well, not pick and choose, but, you just got to make sure you're, I'm not saying Snoop's perfect. None of us are, chat. but maybe his Clippers takes might be pretty accurate. I guess I don't know why I have to call out Snoop like that. Just keep it moving, Chad. Like we said, none of us are perfect, so just assume it and keep going. But shout out Snoop. Snoop's more perfect than we are, so we'll give him that. Snoop definitely higher up on the rankings than the Rem and Sam pod at this point, in terms of where we're at in 2025. But and make no mistake, it's a long climb regardless of what the Rem and Sam is able to. Can the Rem and Sam pod sell more live streams than Snoop sold records? You know, it's a long ways to go, chat. It's a long ways to go. You know, at some of the math, we're definitely going to have to be live streaming for a couple of years. But what do we got a 4-point game in the second quarter as well too. So at some point we'll lock into this Lakers Minnesota game. But like we said, we just the Kawhi memories are flooding back, chat. It is what it is, and the bubble was a good situation for him, but again, they collapsed even almost before the playoffs. So it's like, or you know, in the playoff series, like they started collapsing, and it's like, oh man, you could almost tell that that's a different type of 3-1 collapse, because you know the Warriors just, you know, LeBron's awesome, Kyrie's awesome, they're playing competitively. You know, Draymond goes down for a game, of course, which is always going to be a thing to bring up. But in the other literally 2 games that they had to win it, one of them being at home, you know, again, it's just these awesome performances from these historic players. And at the end of the day, you know, one of the defining moment from one of the greatest players that the league has ever seen. But the Clippers were just like, okay, we're good. We're done. We don't need to be here anymore. We'll just let the Nuggets advance and we'll just go home. And outside of that, you know, again, Kawhi went out early. I'm trying to even remember what the last couple of playoff. Was there a Phoenix series that maybe Kawhi went out? And there's another one that I can't remember as well, too. I feel like there was definitely a Suns. Chat. Yikes. We have to do it. Pause. Journalistic integrity. Sometimes we have to put it before our fandom. So we'll just pull up the Kawhi Leonard basketball reference page. We'll just scroll down and just... Chat, we're not being disrespectful, but again, maybe once he retires, it'll be one of those things. I'm sure it'll, you know, will his relationship with San Antonio, like, I think what ends up happening with San Antonio, of course, is his legacy is defined as the guy on that 2014 title team, and as the role player who ascended to, you know, that's kind of the compromise we make, is like, yes, we know that Kawhi developed into this guy in San Antonio that he became, that took the Raptors to the finals, and then of course, you know, dangled the carrot of hope in front of the Clippers for a couple of years. We'll see what happens this year, but you know, obviously he became that guy in San Antonio, but it's like we just probably won't, at least from I'm sure even in the videos, like there's gonna be some highlights, but that'll be the thing that, like, when we honor, I guess, quote unquote honor Kawhi, it'll be like that's the part that we have to remember, is like, hey, remember when you were a role player on the team and you were awesome? I mean, you guarded LeBron and won us the finals. But, you know, remember Boris Diaw it's like every time Kawhi Leonard has to be, you know, we have to honor Kawhi Leonard. We also have to honor Boris Diaw. And then the next time we have to honor Patty Mills. And then we also have to honor, like, Kawhi always has to be honored with a teammate from the 2014 finals team, I think, is the compromise going forward for Kawhi's career. But like we're saying, he's still active and he's still a competitor right now. So it's just the competitive nature, and a scary competitor as well too, when, like we're saying, he's at full capacity. But I guess we'll go down to the playoff series here and see, and there's going to be that year that he just missed entirely as well too, so you know, obviously that playoffs is not even going to register. Yeah, the 21-22 playoffs, it's like, doesn't even matter, because that would have been, did they also play the Warriors that series? And because they did, Chad, sometimes every now and then you need the refresher through basketball history, like once a year, you know, just like what happened that year, just peruse through the years real quick, remember some of these playoff matchups, get the chronological order of it all correct, because there was that one series but that was that Gallinari Pat Bev team that was like really feisty. I'm trying to remember if that was pre-Kawhi. That might have been the year before Kawhi, because Shea might have been on that team and they traded. Yeah, I think because they traded Shea, and I think Gallo was also a part of that trade for Paul George. So maybe again jumping the gun a little bit on the seasons there, but Yeah, I guess he only played 2 games in the Phoenix series that they lost 1-4. So was that series potentially 1-1 when he got hurt? And again, Booker and Durant's tough series. You can't necessarily chalk it up as a win. But and with as good as they were in those couple of games against the Nuggets, again, like that was the peak that those two guys were playing together as teammates, of course, in that run. And I think they still had Chris Paul in that series as well, too. But and Ayton maybe as well. Ayton versus Zubats. And then only 2 games against Dallas in 23-24. And was he I mean, for Kawhi Leonard, 45% is his field goal percent. Yeah, 45% from the field and then 0 for 5 from 3 in 2 games against Dallas. So not necessarily like a super rememberable Kawhi Leonard performance. 24 total points. Is that true, chat? So he probably got hurt pretty early on in that second game, honestly. If we were to go back and I just, chat, how much of the Kawhi Leonard history do we want to dig up here? But yeah, again, this is the most healthy he's been for the entire time, and combine that with probably the best that this Clippers team has been set up to actually win the title as well too. Because yeah, that Denver series, they would have beat Dallas, would have beat Denver, and they would have played, of course, LA in the Western Conference Finals. So like we're saying, I mean that bubble team is probably about as dangerous of a team that he's been on as well. But just mentally, they weren't there. So it's not like we had the fear factor of that team by the end of the series, where if Jokic is able to take down this Clippers series, this Clippers team again, maybe Kawhi Leonard is not perfect in any of these games, and then we look back and go like, hey, like, the Kawhi Leonard retrospective. Well, I guess not even the retrospective of it, but the Kawhi Leonard going forward of who he is in the league. It, of course, it just as it was always debated. Like, of course, it'll continue to be debated if they lose this playoff series. But it'll also, of course, just be the greatness of Jokic, which is like really kind of not teetering on some stuff, but is a weird, because again, with where Jokic is at from a legacy standpoint, like we're not arguing about Jokic as the best. Like Jokic and Mahomes, of course, have ascended into these like separate categories. Giannis as well too, for legacy guys, where they're not really fighting with people for their spots in the league anymore. Like I think with Giannis, the problem is his game is reliant on some of the athletic stuff. So as he's hit the 30-year-old mark, there's some probably hesitancy with some of the basketball community to be like, okay, the bigger picture going forward, like, are we as 100% certain that Giannis is the same sort of lock the way that Jokic is assumed to be, where Jokic is almost, I know we've made the Jokic and Steph offensive comparisons before, but the way Steph's game ages, and the way it's aging right now, and he still continues to be one of the most dynamic offensive players in the league. Like, you just assume Jokic is going to be able to carry his skill set for, who knows how long, and then with his size, like, is Jokic going to slow down? Like, what does slower Jokic look like? I guess defensively that's not great, but offensively, Jokic is not going to get to a point where he can't sub it. And I know that's always the thing. It's like, I remember that was always the Steve Nash conversation. It's like, Steve Nash can't sub in and give you 12 minutes a game and hit some threes. But then it's like, for some reason, 40-year-old Steve Nash, 12 minutes a game is not like the most exciting player in the league. But, like we're saying, I mean, Reggie Miller played for a long time. But Reggie Miller was always like a pretty good player as well, too. I guess we'd have to go back and freshen up on some of those early 2000s Reggie Miller's highlights toward the end of his career. But, yeah, anyways, so to bring this back around to Kawhi Leonard once again, Chad, as we continue to work our way, Kawhi Leonard, he has us rattled, so it'll always be a labyrinth. It's just a lot of stammering, a lot of no train of thought when talking about Kawhi Leonard, or, if we ever met Kawhi. That'd be very awkward, Chad. I don't really know what would happen in that situation. Maybe we honestly might pretend like we just don't know. We're like, oh, we're soccer fans. Sorry. Oh, the Clippers. Oh, I didn't know there was. I've heard of the Lakers, but I didn't know there was a second LA team. Like, I don't know how we. Oh wait. Oh, that's right. Because I heard about the arena. So yeah. They're apparently making a big deal. I remember going to a concert out there. I didn't realize that that's where you guys played. There was no banners up. Chad, I don't know what the comments are at that. And then he's like, oh, wait a second. This guy might actually be a basketball fan, because he's wearing a Wembanyama jersey. He's just got this Wembanyama tattoo slapped across his forearm, chat. Like, he may be giving himself away. Hopefully we're in long sleeves, I guess, when we bump into Kawhi Leonard on the street at some point. But yeah, it's just the what if of the, and also as well too, if the whole like, I mean, the Raptors and Masai, obviously Masai, I think is still, if is he as high up on the, he's not as high up the GM trade value rankings as he's been throughout the point of his career, but he's still in that positive, I think, viewpoint of GMs where, like, again, what's his future with the Raptors? But if he ever hit the free agent market, like, he's going to get scooped right up by another team, and it's going to be viewed favorably by everybody because, again, I think we still have stock in him as a team builder. And he was still able to put a good team together around Kawhi. I mean, they got Danny Green in that trade, which was a big move as well, too, just continuing to bring in another depth piece as they got that title team together. And again, with just how good Kawhi was, some injuries, like, it all worked out for them to, of course, get that title run. But, I mean, you think about him situationally in San Antonio as well, too. Like, I mean, San Antonio hasn't been a perfect team-building team necessarily. And like saying the team they put around Kawhi wasn't necessarily perfect either. But you still, and again, like, things fell apart functionally, I think, or relationally between him and San Antonio as well, which is tough. Not just some of the, I don't want to be here from a bigger basket. And I guess relationships is a lot of why the stuff deteriorates from a team aspect more so than just like, I need to change the scenery from a basketball aspect. Like, it does carry over as well too into like, he probably needed more of a change of scenery than just on the court as well. But if there was no breakdown in that relationship, like, again, you assume the basketball moves and the basketball building aspect of the team that they had been able to put around Kawhi would have been a better team, a more consistent team than the Clippers. Maybe, if he stays in Toronto, whatever. Like, you just assume that San Antonio is still one of the better basketball situations in the league to want to be in for any NBA player. And again, like, for Wembanyama, still a great situation for Wembanyama to be in. Like, Castle seems like a great player next to him, but like we're saying, that's just going to be the piece of his game that is going to be the developmental factor that separates him, or the piece where, what do we need going forward? Like, I mean, this draft, do they look for that specifically in this draft? Is who has that upside as a shot maker in that 8 spot, or if they jump up in the lottery, and end up getting, the opportunity to take one of those guys. I don't know if they, get into and maybe, if they jump up to like number 4, maybe like Harper, or I think Bailey might be on the board at number 4. I think him and Edgecombe right now might be in a debate for that number 3 spot, because I think Harper is kind of locked in for number 2. I thought I saw that at one point on like I don't know if it was an article or like a clipping on like a TV, like on one of the TVs at work, but like they were posting like a clipping of a tweet or something. But I'm pretty sure I saw something that read Dylan Harper lock number 2 pick, and I'm like, wait a second. And this was like, March, February. It was like, we're already calling him a lock. So, I mean, make no mistake, things could have changed between now and then. But it does seem like his size and offensive creation are going to be tough for teams to move off of from that number 2 spot. And him as a lead guy as well, too. Because, again, Bailey could definitely develop into a lead scorer, but I think Harper as a lead orchestrator of the offense. And we'll need to dig into the tape, but that seems to be the word on the street between those two guys. So then you start debating, well, Edgecombe, is he going to bring maybe more defensive upside than a guy like Ace Bailey? But either way, chat, we should actually probably address the game that happened earlier today as well, too. Like, I mean, I guess we were talking about a little bit with the way Towns was playing, because he was phenomenal making shots at the end of this game. Absolutely. What did he finish with the points, chat? Brunson with 32 and 11 on 2 turnovers, chat. Incredible. And I mean, Cade's stat line was awesome as well, too. I mean, Duren with 17 rebounds. He was a menace in this game, chat. And the Pistons' athleticism, like, the Pistons are going to be a fun team. Like, I feel like me and Sam have been trying to slowly, like, eye some of these, like, lower tier, I guess quote unquote lower tier, but these, bottom tier teams from the East and West over the last couple of years in the league, to just, like, see which of these will emerge as the fun teams. Because, I mean, make no mistake, and that's, I guess, the whole point of Sam's Team of the Year bit as well, too. So it's just us kind of looking at these teams for the potential of that. But, there's been some fun athletic lineups developing, and it's been talked about, of course, with the depth of talent in the league. But there's been some fun lineup potentials that have developed in the bottom portion of the league. And of course, Cade being a real foundational piece in developing in that way is been a big reason, of course, why the Pistons have emerged out of that tier. And now, they weren't even in the play-in this year, chat. They were actually a playoff team, 6 seed, still need to get into that home court tier, still have steps to take. But of course, like we're saying, actually getting out of, the Hornets have been a team of the year. The Blazers have been a team of the year for Sam. I think, were the Pacers a team of the year in there for a minute? They might have been. I feel like it honestly, I think he just alternates back and forth between being a Blazers and a Hornets fan. Is that really what it is? And then Tatum just as his constant favorite player. So we'll have to keep an eye on him next year, Chad. If is it I honestly don't even know right now. Is it Blazers or Hornets right now? We'll have to team of the year update next time Sam calls in. But or just whichever one. We'll just stay tuned when he picks his team next year, and then we'll be like, oh, it's the Hornets. Yeah, then that means it was the Blazers this past year. And again, they had a really good, successful draft recently, whereas the Hornets, it's like, okay, it's, maybe this is the guy, maybe this is the guy, maybe this guy. And the Pistons went the other way, where there was, I think, over the last, if we go back like the last decade, maybe even 15 years, maybe the last decade though, really. But, the Pistons didn't really have, with all due respect, like they kind of had guys that got into the league and then you were like, oh yeah, this is really not working out from the jump. And there's a sort of instant eye test thing that's happening. You're like, this is probably not the spot. This is probably just not going to be the right combination of things for this career to take off in the right way. But sometimes you get a guy like Miles Bridges is a perfect example. Maybe you put Miles Bridges on this Pistons team, maybe you just put Cade Cunningham on the Hornets, and it just becomes a whole different subject, because then you have Cade and Miller and Saloon and Mark Williams, and again, it becomes a really feisty team. But that's a guy that you're like, Bridges, maybe he is something. Oh, and he's obviously had his story in his own way, but maybe he's kind of teetering on like, what is Bridges as a player? Obviously there's great numbers here, but how does the impact translate into a winning team? Like the Pistons have just kind of been like, is there gonna be any of these guys in the roster at any point? But they kind of had, of course, a couple of really good drafts, Cade obviously being the centerpiece of that, and then the acquisitions that they were able to make in free agency. Harris and Tim Hardaway Jr., both those guys have been amazing playoff players for him. Tim Hardaway Jr., chat, was, I guess 4 for 13 today is not, again, box score wise great, but +9 in the plus minus, like that feels right. Like it did feel like when he was in the game, he was changing some energy with the way that he was stretching the floor. And I guess just with the 3-point shooting in general of the team, they were only 24% today. So impressive for them to be, down by 1 with that kind of 3-point shooting discrepancy in the game. But and again, you got Beasley 3 for 9 doing okay. Cade was 0 for 3. It was some of the mid-range physicality stuff that was really working out for him today, Chad. But yeah, just the quick influx of talent that they had. Of course, they've just really improved out of that bottom spot. But the athleticism that they have is really crazy. In between Cade, and Cade actually fits in there as well too, and that's pause, and that's why one of the reasons that he was, of course, thought of as the number 1 pick, not just because of his ability to control the offense, but he has a little positional versatility as well too. He can kind of match up offensively against some of the forward stuff. I know he might not be a lockdown defender, but again, like Thompson was guarding Towns today, and not that Towns was being slowed down, especially from the 3-point range by everybody. I think he was 5 for 7 from 3 today. 10 for 23. Well, we're not going to try to do the match. A little iffy in the mid range compared to the 3-point range. I guess still a really good day overall. But just Sar matching up athletically against a player of that size and that kind of versatility. And again, I don't know, Harris is not like a long-term piece, but I guess that'll be the important, not just spot that they upgrade necessarily, because maybe Harris isn't the lock to be traded. I think maybe some of the contract stuff, I feel like Harris is pretty high up on the list for guys that you're going to trade on this team. But the idea of bringing in that big scoring forward, and that's why there was some, I think, Kevin Durant rumors that were starting to circulate as well too, which I know the Rockets have been a team that, shout out to our guy Simmons, he's been floating that team around as a potential Durant destination for the offseason, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, again, Durant's one of those guys. You add Durant to any roster, you're probably like, oh yeah, immediately. It's not just he makes the roster better. You're like, he's of course his versatility. He fits in any roster in the league. You're gonna be able to build the team around him, and he's gonna be able to. His shot making is just gonna work next to any other player. So it's like Rockets, Pistons. There's no really, I think, better fit basketball wise for Durant. It just kind of becomes personality stuff at that point, and who do you want to build around? And the difference between the Rockets and the Pistons, and I think it's fun to look at those two teams as well too, not just as Durant destinations, but for what they're trying to accomplish in those playoffs and for the teams they're going against. Because I mean, the Rockets were playing last night, and Steph was awesome, and they also got taken down by the veteran guy. But you've got what's I guess not more awesome about this Knicks Pistons series, but was so fun about that game was the dynamic shot making on both sides, where it was the back and forth, and like you're saying, the Clippers and Nuggets, you're getting Kawhi, and in this game, chat, you're getting Edwards and Doncic, and this is an awesome first half as well too. We should definitely be paying attention to this. We will lock in the second half, chat. Make no mistake. But with the Rockets Warriors, I mean, this is the problem with the Rockets as well too. And I mean, they have Şengün, they have some guys, but the shot making at the end of these games, you have Curry at one end, who even without Butler, of course, Curry's just able to be an amazing offensive player in his own right. And if they, I think you could match Curry as a team. I'm not saying you couldn't do that. It's just, do they have the full capability? I guess like we're saying, you could do that, but it all comes down, of course, to the players that you have regardless. Can Jalen Green and Şengün and these guys emerge as players in their own right? Or is there going to be a cumulative effect of it all that works out at the end of these games for them from a shot-making standpoint to keep up with Steph? And Edwards, just take the ball from LeBron? Oh, Edwards grabbing his knee. What just happened? He's in some pain, chat. Uh-oh. Oh, no, chat. Was that LeBron colliding? Chat, hopefully this isn't a moment. We already saw a Willis Reed moment earlier with Jalen Brunson going down, returning to the game. And that seemed like, that Brunson's been in and out with injury, so maybe it's just like, he needs to go in and get some secret, I don't know if he's taken the, I don't know what kind of pain, numb meds, AO that they're going to give him, but whatever they're going to, do back there, but. Oh, it was LeBron right into that knee, chat, diving for the loose ball. I mean, LeBron, go check on your boy. What's going on here? I don't know if Edwards is his boy, but it doesn't, honestly, they just did like the super slow-mo. Is it the plant or is it the collision? Oh, chat, it is the collision, and to be honest, his leg, so a lot of times, obviously, oh, he's up and walking around. Oh, chat, maybe Edwards has the gene. Maybe Edwards has the gene. One of the things, of course, chat, can we get some AO pause? Can we get, well, I'm not even going to say it, but knock on wood. I was going to say, can we get some wood around here? But, I'm not saying that. IT, cut that out. But, knock on wood, always delicate to talk about guys' injuries histories. But, of course, LeBron, it's not even the injury history. It's just like the in-game regenerative power that he's had throughout the course of his career. Where, and again, you say, we don't obviously want to jinx the man going forward, but it doesn't matter. It does matter, but he's been that for his whole career. So the longevity thing is in play. It has happened already. He has had that most impressive span of a career that we've ever seen, in terms of the year-over-year production of it. But the ability for him to just have these tweaks and to have these little dings and nicks, not even little, but to have these moments throughout the game where sometimes, he's flopping around for sure, shout out. But there's been times where you're like, oh man, that ankle, it's like touching the floor. What's going on here? I can't even see the replay. And then he's back in the game, flying around totally fine. So maybe Edwards has that sort of same Wolverine-like ability, chat. Who knows? He's limping. See, the problem was, again, you get the collision into the guy's leg, and that's bad because of the way that it can hyperextend the leg. But Edwards' leg stayed sturdy on that. Can we? Oh, they're not going to replay that. They're replaying Edwards and Conley dapping up in the huddle, I guess. But again, it didn't necessarily hyperextend. It stayed planted. So yeah, here's the replay on it again, chat. Let's see. Yeah, and maybe he gets the ankle. I guess I should have paid a little bit more attention to the ankle there, but he was grabbing his knee. But again, the fact that it stayed steady and he like hits up against it, maybe you're like, oh, that's that kind of, I don't know, pressure, tension on a tendon, just staying planted like that. Maybe it just popped from that kind of, because again, that's what happens a lot as well too, is the plant. So I don't know if the plant can buy, but again, either way, seems like he's fine. A 7-0 run. The free throws put Minnesota on top by one, chat. A minute left here in the second half. Hachimura for three. Oh, almost a full circle moment, chat. We started singing Hachimura's praises to start the first half. But again, like, this is another series. This is why I thought this series was going to be so fun, because I mean, this game is what we thought, what I thought every game in this series was. This Knicks Pistons game is what I thought every game in this Lakers Knicks game would be. Or, chat, I can't even get these teams straight. What I thought every game in this Lakers Wolves series would be, with LeBron and Doncic being a supercharged version, even more so than Brunson and Towns, and Cade being maybe Edwards being a more supercharged version of Cade as well too, even though we had that pretty close in our player ranking. And if you're talking about mentality stuff, obviously, and just maybe fear factor at this point, there's some stuff with Edwards that maybe he's winning in that category, but Cade with the overall playmaking aspect of it. And Cade had 4 blocks today as well too, which is crazy. There was a defensive thing with Cade that you're like, okay, I can see there's a full, like, again, with the athleticism of the full team, the way he was flying around was matching that too. Because Holland, I mean, Holland might be in the UFC, chat, instead of the NBA in a couple years. Randall, the sidestep 3 for Randall. 0.6 left in the second half. Doncic, he's going to get a look. Full court. Oh, I think the buzzer ran out. But either way, Minnesota up by 3. 61-58, chat, as we go to halftime here. Oh, this is incredible, chat. James with 22. Doncic with 21. Randall with 21. And Edwards with 19. This is a game, chat. This is a game. What a day of basketball so far. What a back-to-back, just half moment. The second half of that Knicks Pistons game, and then the first half of this game is incredible stuff, chat. I mean, we were hoping that this would be an incredible just first round in general, but like we're saying, we are seeing the shot making on all the levels. And Cade was proving that he could go toe-to-toe with Brunson in a real way, and it was, again, incredible to see Brunson and Towns. And not to say that them, again, winning over Cade is like can they make a title run? I mean, Tatum and Brown are still, they're a step up from Cade at this point, chat, with as good as Cade is. Like, Tatum is a finals, Brown finals MVP, so that'll be a tough series, assuming the Celtics are able to close that one out. But just Brunson's continued brilliance. Brunson just, again, with the reliability stuff, there's nobody that I think you think is as reliable with some of the shot making stuff that is now being continually proven throughout this playoff series, even this year. That, again, with what we're saying, Tatum and Brown are a step up, but I trust Brunson already against Tatum and Brown. So I guess what it really is Towns proving himself offensively, and the defensive thing, of course, will matter against Cleveland, or against maybe Cleveland as well, but against Boston in the next round. But do we trust Towns to just bring it every night on that type of level? Because Boston, even if Jalen or Tatum, have a off night, because think if Tatum has an off night, the off shooting stuff, he can, of course, have the all round game at this point as well too. Brown can be good defensively, but is he going to play make? Of course, the same way if the shot making is not there for him. But they'll ideally be other shot makers making up for it. Porzingis will probably be healthy in that series. He'll be, of course, an X factor in any way. So then it'll be Bridges and Anunoby. And again, I know, again, shout out to our guy Simmons. Like, he's, the man is right now, like, flicking the lighter under Tibbs' hot seat right now. He's, like, trying to spark the flames. Can we get this thing going? Tibbs! It's like not coaching this team well enough in the playoffs. And I get there's definitely some stuff that could be worked out with the fit, with the X's and O's of the team. And, specifically thinking getting Bridges worked in more. But Bridges, I think, does have to play better as well, too, of course. I mean, that's not a hot take, chat. You're 3 for 12 today. You're 2 for 6 from the three-point line. We could look up the numbers for the season that he's had with New York and just his time on the Knicks in general, chat. And I know there is some stuff of, like, with his new role, chat, because you get to a point where it's like with some guys where it's like, okay, I get that. Because like with Bridges, with the thing I was saying with Bridges is he should be able to play well in this role, of course, because he played well in this role in the past in Phoenix in kind of the secondary guy. But in some ways, is it a little like, like you used to fit in this size of a shoe, so you should be able to fit in it still. But it's like, did Bridges outgrow that a little bit by the way he was able to take over the offense in Brooklyn? Again, to the team's success to a much lesser degree. But still, what he was able to experience as a lead guy, I'm sure mentally it's different, him scaling back now into this role. But also, we're trying to win a title here. And Brunson is, proving to be one of the 6, 7, whatever again, one of those A+ tier impact guys. Towns is proving to be that secondary piece that you need offensively to battle these guys to go for a finals. And Bridges, again, they don't even need, and that should be beneficial for him. I get it's tough, Bridges. Maybe you're not scoring 20 points a game, but you should be able to take advantage of some of these looks that you're getting in a different way. And I feel like the Villanova thing, like Bridges is one of those guys that, again, should kind of, not should be okay with it. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, Bridges, know your role. I'm just saying, like, if we were drafting guys that you say, hey, who would be okay with, what? Hey, Bridges, you're only going to get 12 shots in a game 4 against the Pistons. Maybe, you're going to be in that 12 to 15 shot a game range instead of what you were. I think we thought Bridges would have been one of those guys like, yeah, let's go for it. I'll get my looks. I'll play the defense. Let's win a title. It'll be fine. I'll hit free agency on the next contract and I'll score the points to get the money. I get and that's part of it too. Like what winning a title could be for Bridges in that next phase. Cause I don't know what he's looking for extension wise and stuff at this point. He might have a new deal in New York. So I guess we should just check that out, chat, real quick. Since we are thinking about it, we may as well be accurate with our thoughts, chat. But yeah, and I guess not even that if Bridges plays well, they need Bridges to play well, but if Bridges plays well with the way Tibbs is coached, like with the functionality of this team right now, they could pause, but they could win over the Celtics in a playoff series. Obviously, 6, 7 games, last second, Brunson hitting a fadeaway in the post over Peyton Pritchard or Derek White at the end of the series to seal a win. Like, I'm not saying they're going to go in and just clean out the Celtics, pause. But I'm saying that if Towns is elevating in this way, and it's like, okay, the offense for Towns is on a different level than even it was in the playoffs last year. Brunson, of course, is still on that all-NBA level. And yeah, Bridges will be an expiring contract next year. So I don't, what does that mean for him as a trade asset? But imagine Bridges, an NBA champion who was awesome in that role. Like, teams are still going to think, hey, he's always maximized every opportunity he's had. And they're still always going to think about that time that he had in Brooklyn with him as a number one guy. Teams are going to be able to talk themselves into overpaying him and giving him, overpaying guys, throwing that around loosely. Like, obviously the man would earn his money, but they'll be giving a raise, I guess we should say. They'll be interested in giving him a raise and giving him more opportunity offensively to run the team, giving him, that rollback that he had in Brooklyn. But if he goes into the Knicks like this and has these playoff performances, he's not going to be that A+ upside. He's going to lose that as well too. And it's not going to be Bridges just needs his own team because we just saw him not play well in the playoffs. So it is going to, he's not going to be like written off. We don't want Bridges. Bridges is not valuable. Bridges can't be a part of a winning team. But I just think there would be a hesitancy, and maybe not even a hesitancy, but just a sort of a unanimous decision, if that's a right way to put it, to not, that just wouldn't be, a team wouldn't be looking toward him in that way. But again, I think if he's a contributor on a time, like we see, again, Harrison Barnes, we see it all the time with guys that haven't proven that they could be that guy in a number one role. And we saw Bridges, pause, give us a taste of that. And, do we need Paul Pierce drop? I'm tired of just a taste. I want hey, yo, chat. But, we actually saw him score a lot of points and be a number one guy on a team. So if he also, it's like, still plays good basketball, it's just going to help Bridges out in his own way. And Anunoby as well too. Like, those two guys in general, we know what they're capable of. And, the Knicks, we know what the secret is, chat. Sonny Lee courtside, Anunoby's going to play like a superstar. It is what it is. So, you know, as much as that might be a delicate topic, I don't think offering courtside seats to a superstar is a bad move either. An awesome celebrity, having him offer, hosting them at playoff games, and hosting your celebrities on the road is now probably a different status of, super fan treatment. But hey, I feel like Olympic athlete. Is there a gold medal in there with some of the teams? I think some of the individual stuff as well too. But either way, Olympic medalist probably deserves that top tier celebrity front row accommodations as well. But yeah, awesome just game if you combine, like we were saying, the second half, first half of what we were just watching here between this game and the Lakers versus the Wolves. And I feel like we still have more to say on this game as well too. I mean, again, the athletics, like Duren, I guess even put Duren in that mix. Cade, Duren, Asar, and Holland as a 4-person combination going forward. And then if they're able to keep those 4 guys, and like we're saying, the trade for Durant is possible. Are they going to win the title? But it's a feisty team. And Cade next to Durant. I know Cade versus Booker is an interesting conversation, but is Cade even have more? I mean, he's higher on our player rankings right now than Booker, and probably a little more capable offensively. Again, right now, is he better with the playmaking stuff than Booker, has ever been? I'm not trying to make a hot take statement here. It's just, is he a better player right now than Booker has ever been? I'm not saying that. Obviously, Booker has been a first-team All-NBA level player, an MVP candidate in his career, helped take his team to a finals. Just, again, the full offensive skill set, he may already be bringing that sort of level to the table if you put all the asset pieces together and just get the collective rating of it. And yeah, Holland only got 6 minutes as well too. Did he get thrown out with the fight? I think that might have happened at one point in the game. It's again, not just the athleticism, physicality, but the Pistons team is feisty. Dave Pash on the call was like, "This is like a series from the '80s, a series from the '90s." So I don't know exactly if that's Isaiah Stewart knee inflammation. Isaiah Stewart is so, worked up, pause on the sideline, that he just has inflammation, chat. Isaiah Stewart, just a couple of deep breaths, that knee will be fine, and then he'll be back out there in no time. But yeah, 25, 10, and 10, a triple-double? I didn't realize he hit triple-double status, chat. And if he had gotten the 5 blocks, a 25, 10, 10, and 5, but a 25, 10, 10, and 4. Okay, chat, let me do... Okay, hey, pause. But before we go to break here, let's do a quick playoff stat check. And I need to log into my stat head here real quick. So, sorry, guys. I'm not going to give out my stat head password for free. But I guess if you want to DM us at REMINGTOM on Instagram, we could probably negotiate something, potentially. But I just need to pull up... We'll look up the 25, 10, 10, and 5 and see what we get. But I guess if we look up the 4 block version of it, we will be able to get the 5 block version of it, of course, by default. And if we go by guard as well too, that could be a really interesting list, because I guess the assist part of it's going to make it'll be interesting to see either way, because the 5, if we go the 5 across the board, that would probably lend itself more toward big man. But if we go the actual triple double with the block aspect of it, you're still probably going to get like a Duncan, Elijah Wan maybe performance in there. But Magic probably had a multi-block game multiple times. Jokic, of course. Giannis. But let's actually here, and let me actually remember to unmute the screen here. Boom, chat. Stats on page. We are cooking. So we need to actually go, look at this, chat, live research. We need to actually go to the playoffs here. And then we'll filter. Cade, of course, not 35, not quite, 25 points. The most of his work was, of course, in the second half. So he was kind of on pace just one half-wise for a 35-plus point performance. But 25, 10, and 10... and 4 blocks, chat, in a playoff game. Did we get that right? Okay. Any time frame. Let's see how many results we get. And maybe this could be us, with Wilt, we probably could do a most category. Whoa, Ralph Sampson is the only other guy, chat. Make sure, double check, chat, do the research, double check, make sure we entered these stats right. Are we looking at Cade's stats correct as well, too? 25 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks in a playoff game. We had that entered as 25 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 4 blocks. The only player to ever do that, not Ralph Sampson, 1986. Houston at Denver, of course they won the game. 131-103. Ralph Sampson put up 33, 17, 10, and 5. Wow, chat. Ralph Sampson with 10 assists. He was cooking in that game. 6 turnovers, so even better than Cade. More points, more rebounds, more blocks, and less turnovers. Yes, chat. You would probably say that it was a better performance. So shout out. I think even still Ralph Sampson, a little higher on the legacy rankings than Cade Cunningham at this point. But let's see, chat. Shout out Stick. Hey, yo. His nickname was Stick. Rookie of the Year, Hall of Famer. Absolutely, chat. Don't pay attention to the 4 All-Stars. Just the college stuff. Like I said, the peak version of Ralph Sampson. If we need to eventually, for some reason, make a Wemby sort of shortened Hall of Fame case, Ralph Sampson is obviously the go-to example we need to have in the Hall of Fame. Because Wemby might already be a Hall of Famer if Ralph Sampson is in it. But, I mean, Ralph Sampson, of course, 38 playoff games in 4 playoff series throughout the course of 4 playoff years throughout the course of his career is, a decent playoff history in there. And 18 and 10, 3 assists. I mean, 21 and 16 that playoff run. 5, I guess this series, they were 5 playoff games. So, screw it, chat. Little Ralph Sampson playoff corner here real quick, since his accomplishment was matched today by a guard as well, too, like we were saying. Be interesting to see. Like MJ, like you don't think he would have quite gotten to like a 10 assist number in a playoff game. And that, do we blame the triangle for that, chat? I don't know if that's, necessarily MJ's fault. But, yeah, that first playoffs, they were playing against Utah in 85. That would have been early Utah, chat. Would this been like rookie Malone, maybe? Because I think Stockton was 84 draft. So, oh no, Stockton would have been a rookie. Malone, was he even on the team? This would have been pre-Karl Malone? Whoa, chat. Hey, yo. Not a lot of things happen pre-Karl Malone. Not a lot, pre and Malone. Always sketchy when you put those together, but the man played for a long time, absolutely. But apparently, yeah, 85-86, I guess, makes sense. Would have been, yeah, rookie Karl Malone season. 15 and 9 his rookie year. Rookie of the Year, 3rd MVP voting. They still had Dantley at that time. So, yeah, it makes sense why they were able to also, be as good of a team with Stockton and Malone. Continue to get better. And, of course, 40 wins, making the finals. Not quite the same as what they ultimately developed into. But Dantley, helping get these young guys some playoff reps early in his career, is why a veteran, and Dantley's in the Hall of Fame. There's no way he's not, Chad. Right? Yeah, absolutely. 6-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 2-time scoring champ. Dantley, first team All-Rim and Sam Pod, absolutely. So he's in our Hall of Fame either way. Thurl Bailey. I mean, yeah, this team was stacked, chat. Mark Eaton, Ricky Green. This was a fun team. Not really sure. Pace Mannion? Seems like a player. Any relation to Nico Mannion? Could be. But, yeah, why are we on this Jazz team? Karl Malone. Stockton. Oh, yeah, we were looking at Ralph Sampson's playoff years. So, I guess, unfortunately, Ralph Sampson got defeated by Adrian. Unfortunately for Ralph Sampson. Fortunately for Adrian Dantley. Adrian Dantley got the playoff series win. Ralph Sampson, though, in that final game, 10 for 14, 23 points, 13 rebounds, not bad, in a 7-point loss. But 3-game sweep against Sacramento. And then I guess that Denver series was a real bloodbath, chat. I guess 6 games, not quite 7. But those last 2 games by Sampson, I guess that last game, 12 points, but 33. So just this 4-game run against Denver here, what did he do? 28 points a game, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2.5 blocks, 57% from the field. In chat, we didn't even go to break, and it's already second half. Lakers with a little 8-0 run to storm out in front. And then they did have the year, of course, where they make it to the finals. And, you know, they have Hakeem as well, too, this entire time. Hakeem, of course, is part of that 84 draft. But Sampson in this series against the Lakers looks like he was pretty dominant. 53% of the field, 20 points, 8 rebounds. Okay. You love to see it. 29 in that last game. And, I mean, really, chat, got him good here in the last couple after the Lakers won game 1. And then, of course, the 86 Celtics were quite the force. And then, I mean, I guess we could go look at this Lakers roster here real quick. But you think of what the Celtics had in that front line. And like we're saying, the Rockets had Hakeem and Sampson. But the Celtics guys were a little more veteran at that point with McHale and Parrish. And did they have Walton on that team? I think they had Walton on that team. So, you know, they were pretty stacked to match the strength of that team. And then, you know, Bird and some of the wings. Like, I mean, that team was a modern build team, chat. A lot of pause, a lot of size, a lot of versatility, some switchability, even though there's some defined, you know, center guys in that team. But outside of, I guess, you know, maybe AC Green playing some minute. I guess AC Green, Kurt Rambis, Maurice Lucas. There's some real power forward. And then, you know, Worthy, probably in the modern NBA as a power forward. So could definitely help with that additive size in the front court. I mean, you got Magic as well, too, who we know was playing center. But, yeah, I guess we'd have to go back and watch the tape for that series, chat. Oh, no, they got the Spurs. George Gervin and the Spurs in a sweep? Did we put up a fight, chat? Oh. Wes, man. What was he doing playing in the 86, chat? No wonder he got hurt in that Blazers team. Man was playing for a long time. Oh, this was an Artis Gilmore team. Alvin Robinson, Mike Mitchell. Oh, 86. I bet, yeah, George Gervin would have been on the Bulls at this time, chat. This would have been post Gervin. So, yeah, and an older Gilmore as well, too. 36 years old. 13-6 in this series. So maybe much more of a, you know, heroic effort for this team through the regular season. And then, yeah, the 8 seed, you know, Cotton Fitzsimmons, chat. Oh, can we say that name? Hey, yo. But 35 wins. Obviously, the bar was not high to get into the playoffs that year. But 41 the year before. Was Gervin there the year before? Yeah, chat. 21 a game still. Mike Mitchell at 22 a game. Shout out. Gilmore was still at 19 a game. Johnny Moore as well, too. So that's a pretty good four-man line. Yeah, those four guys. Paxton, a young Paxton. Hanging out, like we mentioned, Alvin Robinson. Gene Banks, chat. Shout out Gene Banks. Shout out Gene Hackman. The Replacements was on TV the other day, so just another great Gene Hackman classic, chat. But we actually got to go to break. We're not even talking about the games that happen anymore. We're talking about the 84-85 San Antonio Spurs. So shout out Pistons, Knicks. And this second half is continuing to shape up to be a fun one. But yeah, quick break, chat, and then we will resume the second half of Lakers T-Wolves. Edwards, can he keep up the pace against Luka and LeBron? We'll find out on the other side. Okay, chat. LeBron has just injured his second Timberwolf of the game. Earlier it was Edwards with the knee, and now Conley just collided with LeBron trying to block him, and he just went up limping as well too. I think it may have been more from the collision with the ground afterwards, but either way, Mike Conley on the sideline, and there we go. Edwards attacking the basket. The third quarter, Reeves has gotten scoring, so that's helped the Lakers get this lead back a little bit, but. And the Timberwolves definitely hit some threes in the first half there. I mean, the three-point shooting's, of course, a little streaky for them, as you expect it probably will be, regardless of how long this playoff run goes for. But it's the difference, of course, them settling for threes versus the driving kick, them getting threes in the course of the offense, and a little settling for threes here to start the third quarter. But now they're aggressive, attacking again. McDaniels drive. I mean, it was a drive and kick, and then McDaniels off of the drive going to the corner just hit that three. Edwards attacking the basket the last time. Didn't kick out for three, but, attack the basket. Get the 2 points, Chad. They hadn't scored at all in the first half here, so at this point, just get some points on the board. Not always about getting a three-pointer. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like we just need to sit back and continue to watch this game, chap, but, I mean, we do have to address the Shedeur Sanders thing as well too, because again, we are a pro Shedeur Sanders pod. So do we have to scold the league for letting Shedeur Sanders fall to the fifth round? But I mean, you kind of have to look through all this stuff, because I mean, it's almost like a flashbang goes off for a second, chat, and it's just like we have to, I guess, how much damage does a flashbang do? But we had to like pick up the pieces and be like, how did this happen? How did Shedeur Sanders fall to the fifth? It's like, what went wrong? Was it the and is it almost the ego of the evaluators? It's not just, them, the evaluators. We can lump ourselves into that as well too, chat. But just evaluators, the fans, people watching the draft, trying to look at this stuff. Edwards, the step back three, fouled by Hachimura. But is it almost like what were we missing? Are we not on par with the NFL people? Are are the NFL people as crazy as we think they are? And I think both things can be true, obviously, chat. I think that Shedeur Sanders, and I think even the evaluators at this point, like McShay and, like Jeremiah, I think Kuiper is the one guy that, was as high on Shedeur as anybody in the evaluation process, have had him as highly ranked on their big board as anybody. And I think maybe Tankathon as well, too. Pretty favorable. Is Tankathon already updated to 2026? Tankathon's a menace, chat. Tankathon just puts in work, and we'll just be having the mock drafts up as soon as available, but it may still be at this point. We're still, I guess, technically a day removed from the actual draft itself, more so than just the first round. So he may still have. Oh, Cleveland is mocked already. Yeah, 2026 draft order, chat. Indy top 8 is just like win totals, Vegas win totals or something. Philly, or is this just his own Tankathon projections? So here we go, chat. Early Tankathon playoff preview, I guess. Another Kansas City Philly rematch in the Super Bowl. Colts with the 8th pick. Does that mean Anthony Richardson won the starting job? I don't know what that means, chat. That could be Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Yeah, Arch Manning. Caleb Downs is the number 3 overall pick. This is a fun draft, chat. I'm already in. Caden Proctor. Kendrick Folk from Auburn. Sounds kind of fun. Ruben Bain Jr. Bain? We got a Bain in this draft? Chat. I think Bain is going to be very highly ranked on our prospect board. Kilgorn from South Carolina. Lenore Sellers from South Carolina. We got an Uyunglele. We're just going to go through all the times that we had DJ Uyunglele stock and just replace it with Mateo. We'll just say, we'll give you a couple takes of Mateo. And then you can just put those all over the pause, the DJ Uyunglele stock tapes. And where did he? I think he might have gone to the Chargers. He did get signed as an undrafted free agent. So the DJ Uyunglele stock, it's like our Brandon Paul stock. We haven't sold it yet. There's still hope. Oh, Doncic banking in the little one-legged long mid-range. This is just another awesome shot-making game, Chad. This is going to be a great second half here. Already is shaping up an intense third quarter. If Edwards can just match, not even, like we were saying, Cade was able to match the shot making of the guys from the Knicks in a way and go toe to toe with those guys. But Cade also, and this is going to be interesting in the player rankings, chat, as we see how these series plays out. And Minnesota is winning this series right now, so LA of course can tie. But just to see how these series played out, Cade may have a better feel for, again, command of the offense than Edwards. Edwards might have more upside and may already be a more dynamic scorer. And again, his athletic ability, the possibilities are endless for how threatening he can be as an attacker. And the perimeter stuff is, developing as well too, as consistent as any player in the league almost. But Cade's ability to say, I'm going to get a look, I'm going to set a guy up, it just seems like the feel for that stuff is really, really good. And, him versus, like, that 3-man would you rather of him, Edwards, and Paolo is going to be really, really fun. And, Wemby, of course, is in that mix as well, too. But just having seen those guys in the playoffs this year and, some recent stuff with Paolo and Edwards as well, too, from carryover from last year's playoffs. Paolo did have that early series against, was it the Cavs last year, I think? And then, again, Edwards with his playoff run. But, Carnell Tate, chat, from the team up north. Perkins, back for another year. Sonny Styles. Dylan Themon. Is that the number? Are these the two safeties? Keon Sabb. I think Sabb is pretty good, chat. I think I've got a lot of Sabb stock. I think. We'll have to check the books. I guess Kilgore is the number. Downs, of course, chat. Downs is so highly. The problem is Downs is so, again, unusually highly ranked as a safety prospect that it's like, okay, we're going to search this part of where they would normally go in the draft. But, outside of Downs deciding to transfer up north, there's not basically a reason that I would ding him as a prospect, chat. Is that possible? Would that be fair in the evaluation process? Ballard brings us in. He's like, hey, what do you think of Downs? Well, he did go to that one school. So take that with a grain of salt. But the other football stuff, The Rev and Sam pod just totally discredits Ohio State. Oh, well, Chad, it is what it is. Aggregate it. We're talking about the football program. We would choose the guys to rather go to Michigan. It is what it is. But Caleb Downs, I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure we were in the running. It's brutal to put both teams in the running, Chad. I think if you're a high prospect, you're probably going to consider both schools. But a lot of times it does seem like guys will pick. I don't know if it's like a full, like, is it like if you're Ohio State, Alabama, and USC, and then you choose Michigan, Auburn, UCLA? Like, I don't know if it's, blue and red split down the middle like that. But it does seem like usually guys will consider one or the other in their mix. But I do feel like Downs, when he was, and maybe it was the recruiting process versus the transfer portal, because I feel like maybe the transfer portal, either the transfer portal was just Michigan or Ohio State, or it was the recruiting process that Michigan was in as well. But of course, we ended up know what happened there. And I mean, he's been competing against Michigan because he played against Michigan when he was on Alabama in the playoffs as well too, and had that interception almost on like the first play of the game, but stepped on the sideline, and then of course Michigan goes on to win the national title. So Caleb Downs just could have derailed our full like that was the moment. I mean, I think you can check the tapes on a reaction to that game, Chad. It was the moment I turned on Caleb Downs. So Caleb Downs is like my favorite defensive prospect in college football. And now he's about to derail Michigan's title hopes. Off the list. But I guess we'll see where the Colts end up in the draft with our quarterback room next year. Shout out to Tennessee, though. Cam Ward, I guess they're not giving him the wins. Tyler Slaw is going to get more wins in New Orleans than Cam Ward is on Tennessee. And Jackson Dart in the Giants. And Justin Fields. And I guess Bryce Young. And Shedeur. Shedeur is going to be the 7th seed next. I guess that would be via the Jags, Chad. Shedeur, yikes. Arch Manning and Shedeur back-to-back years. Well, I mean, that's going to be quite the competitive quarterback class for Arch Manning, Chad. What a conflicted just position that would put us in. Pause. Did we just go silent after that? Was that perfect time to take a drink? But, I mean, of course we're pro Shedeur, but, I mean, who's not pro Arch Manning? So I think you would assume sort of who would win that starting job. But, again, I think and even if this is not the current draft order for this year, just pulling up the teams, there was still teams that had need and still teams that you could look at, in the greater Shedeur conversation and go, they're not totally set at quarterback for the future. I mean, the Browns with Shedeur might be one of those teams, but, there was still only a handful of teams that could draft Shedeur. So, it got to the point where if it's those 6 teams, like what was it? Again, it wasn't going to be like Tennessee. Like, yes, they needed a quarterback, but they were going to take Cam Ward number 1. Like, we knew that. So it was going to be, and the Giants were kind of a Jackson Dart team as well. I guess a lot of them became Jackson Dart teams as well too. But you got, New York was going to make a non-Cam Ward move. New Orleans, potentially. I guess here, let's just look at all the teams that did end up drafting the main quarterbacks. Are we going to get to this game by the 4th quarter? Probably not, Chad. We've mentioned the big plays that they've happened, I feel like. The Luka behind the back pass to LeBron, to Reeves, to Hachimura in the corner. No pressure on Hachimura hitting that 3. Just completing that highlight play. But let's look at the quarterbacks here that did get drafted, because I think a lot of those teams did draft a quarterback. I think McCord ended up going to like Philly. So they're one of those teams, they'll always draft the value positions. They'll always take a quarterback. They took Tanner McKee, those 6th to 7th round picks. But I think that might be something to learn from as well too, if you are in the Howie Roseman school of GMing. But yeah, I guess, the Seahawks are sneaky in that mix. The Colts, we took a quarterback. Texans don't need a quarterback right now. Niners, we had them in the mix. Same with the Dolphins and the Raiders. But again, that's still, 6, 7 teams that could take Shedeur. So if those teams aren't going to take Shedeur, it does really become an interesting conversation. And a lot of these guys do have, especially with the quarterbacks, sort of destinations as well too. I mean, you do get the quarterback prospects, of course, they would go anywhere. I mean, Caleb Williams, Cam Ward, maybe a little bit in that as well too. Like if Cam Ward's at 2, are they not going to take him at 2? If Cam Ward's at 3, are they not going to be able to, anybody's going to take Cam Ward? But then sometimes you get the guy where it's the linked guy to this team. And Cleveland was kind of that for Shedeur. So, if Cleveland just for some reason has Shedeur like, I guess in the doghouse chat, then if they're not going to take him, it's almost like, again, not to say that any team couldn't take him, but other teams are also probably thinking, well, Cleveland's just going to take him, and that's the pairing, and that's the thing that makes sense. So they're probably just not viewing to go that direction because of that anyways. And again, if he's that undeniable talent, then it wouldn't matter. But I think both things are right, Chad. I think that maybe as an evaluation community, there is Chad, Doncic, a tough three-pointer. LA now up 9, third quarter, 2.5 minutes left. But I think the evaluators, maybe he's not the instant starter, the guy that's going to just turn a franchise, maybe. Like, maybe there is a process, and, we'll see what the ultimate upside is for Shedeur. But he's probably also not a fifth-round pick as well, too. But, I mean, again, like we were saying in the draft, if they don't value you as a first-round quarterback, you kind of weirdly get put into a mix with all the other positions. So, like, some of the quarterback drafting stuff over the years, and if you value the high end of any position throughout the draft, then any pick can look good 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. But Shedeur in the 5th, like, again, it's a slide from where we thought it in the first. It still doesn't feel like the Browns don't think he's, and again, they did take another quarterback over him, which is crazy as well too. They took Dylan Gabriel. So, what is that? And back to, well, I guess not back-to-back picks for the quarterbacks, but Cleveland, just another confusing thing. But again, they did want to go to Cleveland, and people were comparing sort of the Shedeur thing to Manziel in the pre-draft conversation of those two guys. So it was interesting. That's like, okay, the Browns just, naturally just get all these chaotic quarterback prospects anyways. But then I was thinking about, well, Cleveland, again, they don't just get chaotic quarterback prospects. It seems like they get every quarterback prospect because they're always highly up in the draft. But I was trying to think about the guys that they had gotten since Manziel. And weirdly, Manziel was kind of the last guy of those runs of just like the Browns have to take a quarterback like every year, every other year, every third year because of the rookie contract, it's not going to work out at that point. Like, he was kind of the last guy. And then they, of course, take Baker number 1 in 2018. So he's actually the last guy. But then they bring in Stefanski. And now, it's a weird thing for Shedeur to go to Cleveland because it's this balance of Cleveland as the team, again, currently constructed the last handful of years, is weirdly like a stable situation potentially with Stefanski if he is able to develop into a good prospect. But the history of Cleveland is the quarterbacks. It's a quarterback wasteland. And hopefully just, obviously Shedeur's not into the next one. But because of that, it also is another weird counter balance to it as well, too, where, and again, maybe we thought Cleveland was going to take Shedeur in the 2nd or 3rd round and just he was going to end up there this whole time. But now that he does end up there, one, it's not the most difficult QB room in the world to try to get the week 1 starting job. Like, Shedeur Sanders being the week 1 starter is not totally crazy, I don't think at all. And I got to be honest as well, too. Like, if Shedeur's not going to be drafted in the 1st, I kind of like from the mental aspect of it, and I get there's money stuff as well, too, so I'm not trying to take that away. But I do like him being drafted in day 3 instead of day 2, because if he goes in day 2, again, it's like, oh, we kind of heard the rumors were trending that way, and then, oh, the Browns didn't want to take him in round 2 to prove a point, so they got him in round 3. Like, haha, we got you. But round 5 is, again, it's not like the league is writing him off. Like, writing him off is round 7 or, just undrafted free agent. We'll wait and see. But it is like a real, like, okay, there is a real now something is different than what we thought in the pre-draft prospect, and like real extra motivation, I think, than to what would have been, second. I mean, every round is obviously added motivation. But again, he's going in against Dylan Gabriel, the other rookie, 40-year-old Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson, clearly the wild card, but also obviously injured. So won't be probably ready for week 1 as well, too. It's not like they have him on IR. I guess they don't really have anybody on IR at this point in the season. But yeah, I don't believe he'll be ready for week 1. So it'll be Shedeur, Gabriel, Flacco, and Kenny Pickett. So Flacco, obviously, as the veteran guy, gets sort of the lead odds to be the starter, but Shedeur being the week 1 starter over Flacco is not, it's not minus, or it's not plus, it's not 5-1. It probably plus 175. Is it in the 2-1 range? I don't even know if it is, chat. Like, it's not a super crazy thing if it ends up happening. And then, Shedeur ends up, or, Dylan Gabriel as well, too. But the rookie taking over by the week 6, week 8, and just let's wait and see. That's, I think, a very realistic possibility, and just getting a little tired of what, maybe Flacco is bringing to the table. Even if it is competitive, functional stuff, it may not necessarily be the winning thing. And then you do start staring down Arch Manning, and maybe you're like, okay, well, Dylan Gabriel, he could be feisty, or he could get us Arch Manning. And maybe you just want a guy to get you Arch Manning. Either way. So that's another piece of this as well, too, is you have to feel good enough that, like, we don't want to tank for Arch Manning next year, I guess, is potentially in play for the quarterback evaluation of it. But, gets to go to a very, I think, favorable quarterback room for him to compete, and gets to go to a franchise that, again, is a desolate franchise, so that could kind of work in his favor as well, too. Like, Baker was already there, and then Stefanski kind of was the one that went in, and it's like, oh, Stefanski is turning around Baker. But, and again, Stefanski, it's like, oh, he would definitely get credit for bringing along Shedeur in a great way. But Shedeur has a chance to really capture the Browns franchise, and I know that is like a, we're really projecting out, like, we got to get Shedeur in the lineup and starting and stuff, but again, I still believe in him as a starting level quarterback. And if we're talking about just the history of the Browns quarterbacks, it's not even like they have a guy that is a franchise, like, sort of legend guy. Like, if you're thinking the most sort of franchise desperate quarterback, the history there, like, even the Bears, who, shout out, have not necessarily had the most rich history at the quarterback position. Like, they did win a Super Bowl with McMahon. McMahon's obviously a legend, so I don't know if he's like the number 1 Bears quarterback legendary guy, but at least it's like, okay, there's that season in there. Like, Philly, I think, is a good example. They got Philly's draft picks on the board right now. Like, Philly, Hurts obviously has won a Super Bowl in Philly. The problem was Nick Foles won the first ever Super Bowl for the Eagles, so that's awesome. You'll take the Super Bowl, but, you're really only connected to Nick Foles for that run. It's not really like Nick Foles as this franchise guy. So now Jalen Hurts is becoming that, but, they had McNabb, they had Randall Cunningham, they had Jaworski. They had this fun collection of quarterbacks that had played in the history, where, again, I guess Cunningham maybe was kind of like the Eagles claimed him as their guy. And again, Cunningham was never like never won a Super Bowl. Like, he was in that MVP mix. So Shedeur played as good as Randall Cunningham does, just impact-wise. Then, that's an absolute win in the 5th round, chat, make no mistake, and for any player at any point in their career. But, again, to think, like, what you can accomplish in your career and still be sort of defined as a franchise guy. Like, Houston, obviously, is a newer franchise. Carolina and Jacksonville. Like, Houston with Stroud, like, they have a chance to really have a, franchise defining guy. Again, Moreno's like a top 7 quarterback of all time. So is Shedeur going to be a top 7 quarterback of all time? But Moreno never, like, won, shout out, never won a Super Bowl in Miami. Doing that. Like, the Saints fans with Archie Manning, like, that's a different type of thing. Is there some, oh, we feel bad that, we had to torture Archie Manning with some of these teams. But that is kind of like can you be a franchise defined? Like, the Browns don't really have that. I guess you got, like, Kosar with some of those teams that were feisty in the playoffs. But outside of that, it's not really, that great, chat. So it's a fun opportunity for him to be, and, like Manziel as well, too, but in a, maybe a different type of way. Like, I think Shedeur's a better pro prospect than Manziel, and I don't think that that's a hot take at all. And again, Manziel was the 16th pick in the draft, so I think that, yes, Shedeur maybe a top 10 prospect in the draft, probably not. But is he a 5th round pick in the draft? Also, probably not. Like, yeah, the teams got carried away with whatever point they were trying to prove, and if Shedeur gets in the lab and we see the best version of Shedeur Sanders, then guess what? They will be proven wrong, because Shedeur Sanders is good, and I think, like, the conversation was more like him versus Jackson Dart, and it gets to him versus, Dylan Gabriel now in the draft boards, and I feel like some of our own confidence in defending Shedeur is shaken by where he was taken at with some of these names. But if you're just looking at him compared to Jackson Dart as the number 2 quarterback in this draft, like, again, Jackson Dart has, and I think you take of course we hope that every player is obviously able to overcome their question marks, but Jackson Dart has question marks as a player and fluctuations in his production in a system that was beneficial for a quarterback. So the problem sometimes becomes the guy in the system, in the beneficial system, produces, again, like, too well. Like, you get like some Ohio State quarterbacks, and again, those guys, obviously ended up going really highly in the draft. But you get some Ohio State guys that are, or some, Alabama, or like whatever school, whatever system you want to point out, Baylor, whatever you want to say. But you get some of these guys from these sort of these offensive focused, big play, dynamic schools that can sort of puff up some of these stats. Tennessee as well too, though. Again, the Lions fans do kind of like Hendon Hooker as a, sneaky backup option. But Jackson Dart definitely did play in one of those systems, and it made him play better. But again, it wasn't making him play better into that level of, oh, is he like a number? Like, it's like, oh, we'll trade back up into the first round for him and all that stuff. And Shedeur, again, I think there are like legitimately real conversations, obviously, of like him versus Jackson Dart as a quarterback talent, and he was playing in a less favorable system, which I think has to be the thing at the end of the day that is, and again, is Shedeur going to go in and elevate the Browns and like carry the Browns to the playoffs on his own? Like, that's not what I'm saying, but Shedeur has proven the ability to succeed, and this is going to be like bro science-y scouting stuff here, but like by just playing football, and again, like Jackson Dart's playing in a system, and Shedeur's out there playing football, and that's obviously part of the reason that he slid in the draft, is because he is some of the processing stuff and some of the, just he's holding on to it too long, he's causing sacks, and even not even that, just some of the pocket awareness stuff too, where he was dropping back a little bit too far into the sacks at times, and it's like, okay, that's a little bit that's definitely concerning. But on the flip side of that, he could also extend plays as well too when he got outside the pocket, and again, when he stepped back, and I think clean look, good decision, all the stuff came together, I think you saw a really clean, accurate passer that was, and I think Kiper said this as well too in the draft, and I like this point that Kiper made was, there's accurate and then there's precise. And I think, again, when Shedeur was locked in, there was a precision to his passing where he was really dropping it in the window, and you're like, okay, this is an NFL throw right here, where, again, some of the dart, some of the other stuff is, you can see the other quarterbacks get to the accuracy, but I don't know if they can get to the precision. And again, Shedeur, there's some even arm strength stuff, some of the athletic, I get it, but that precision is, I think, going to carry over if the system is able to get there. And I think Stefanski is going to be able to help get him into that system as well too. I really like that fit there, and they're gonna need to continue to have weapons to surround him, but I think they tried to build that out in the draft as well too. They got Judkins in the draft. They got 2 running backs. They went 2 running backs and 2 quarterbacks in this draft. So, I don't know if that's a little head scratching in itself, but the tight ends never get brought up in the weapon conversation unless they're Kelsey. So Njoku, of course, a very solid weapon for any quarterback to have. I love that they have Pickett in as the week 1 starter as well too. Did the Browns say that they're gonna start Pickett over Flacco? Because if that's the case, then I mean Shedeur is I think better right now than Kenny Pickett. Like, question the arm stuff all you want. Like, Shedeur is just more accurate than, like, in college, Shedeur is just more accurate than Kenny Pickett. So you're telling me that Shedeur is already not an upgrade to the, and again, it's I don't know if it's just this draft that's the way it played out that's making me doubt myself, because I still, like, at the end of the day, it's like, I believe Shedeur is a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel, even though, shout out to Dylan Gabriel. I guess we don't need to take an anti-Dylan Gabriel stance, but I do think that Dylan Gabriel is going to be his toughest competition in camp, if this is the room. Again, assuming Watson is just out of competition for health concerns, because you never know. I guess he's a wild card, could turn the corner, and is he going to play like Deshaun Watson? But could he play better than Deshaun? Could he play better than Shedeur in camp? I think that's also definitely a possibility as well too. But I kind of like the pick. Obviously, at the end of the day, they get some, maybe if they manage the draft a little bit better, if they know that, hey, we're just going to take Shedeur in the 5th, do you get the other weapons. But, you know, we saw the Commanders do this with RG3 when they took RG3 and Cousins, you know, maybe the reverse order. I don't know if they actually are, you know, thinking Gabriel was higher on their list, and that's why they, you know, they did end up taking him and then got Shedeur as well too. But either way, you go through the 2 quarterbacks thing. So if Shedeur is the Kirk Cousins of this situation, the later pick who is not expected to win the starting job, like, I mean, there's a perfect example of how it could happen. And again, I don't think Kirk Cousins got that spot because of injury. With as good as Kirk Cousins has played, has Kirk Cousins ever, well, you know, Kirk Cousins has had some really, really solid seasons, like, make no mistake, but has he ever played as good as even that peak RG3, or as, you know, dynamic as that peak RG3 season was? Like, it's just a special player. So, you know, did he win out the job over RG3 eventually? Yes. Was it a diminished version of RG3? Also, yes. But in this case, like, Shedeur is just might actually be the better quarterback as the later pick. And like I'm saying, I think very likely that Browns GM, we believe Shedeur will outproduce his draft slot. I mean, yeah, Chad, I believe so as well too. Does again that mean that they're indicating week 1 startership? I don't know. They also, of course, the clip of them not being excited as well too is going viral a little bit, and just, you know, always an interesting reaction. It's the 5th round, so maybe they're just, you know, the reactions are a little more calm in the room at that point. Some of the excitement's just lost in general. You know, the tolerance to drafting at this point, they've been in the room a couple days. But, you know, you're getting Shedeur, you're getting a quarterback. I guess there was a round of applause going around. Maybe a little bit of a bigger smile, though, on the face. Who knows? But Randall, is this going to be a Randall post-up session here in the last 10 minutes? Randall versus Hachimura, chat? I mean, he just moves Hachimura. Hachimura just bumps straight out of bounds. Randall, the drive to the rim and the dunk are not going to count. But honestly, it wouldn't be a bad move, because his ability to get fouls and attack these guys into switches could be a thing. A little, I don't want to call it Luka-esque, obviously, because it's just a different game. But the way Luka is able to use his size to dominate, like, Edwards and McDaniels on the perimeter, like, maybe Randall can punish the switches with the interior guys, because the Lakers have to go small with LeBron at the 5 too. Like, they don't have a center on this team. We mentioned if that could be a factor in helping Rudy Gobert be more effective in the series in the minutes that he's played. But I mean, how many minutes has Gobert even logged tonight, chat? I feel like we haven't even seen him. Is he even out there? Was he even healthy for tonight? Like, that's the question. Is Gobert even active? Suited up and ready to go? I'm not even sure if they might have just had him out there to win the tip-off, honestly. And then at this point, they're just going to run the small lineup. But again, what it really means is maybe Randall is able to, again, punish the switches, and there's no rim protection for Randall to win. Because, again, the way the pace of Randall's play, the slower back to the basket stuff, oh, and there he's just going to take a corner 3. So that's not going to help. The energy, he gets his own rebound. Oh, the defense on the inside, they call a foul. No, they don't call a foul. Jogging back the other way. I mean, it's LeBron on defense, so what do you expect, chat? Wait, is Gobert in the game right now, or did they sub him in? Are they ahead of us? They are a couple seconds ahead of us, so they might have subbed in Gobert at this point. How many minutes? 22 minutes, 1 for 6. Yeah, pretty low-key Gobert performance, to say the least. So, you know, Chris Finch, why are we subbing him back in? Let's keep that Randall center thing going and just see what happens. Oh, was that LeBron stripping Daniels, chat? Oh no, they were showing a different play. I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure that was Randall that got that rebound. Oh, that was a clean block. That's just, you know, glaze, chat, but that's just the greatness of LeBron. We need a glaze alert. That's kind of crazy, but if we're able to still get one on YouTube, you know, I don't know if we have to move our stream over to a different service if that's the case, but if we can get a glaze alert. Oh, Doncic, the quick fire 3. Oh, he banks it in. They're going to wave it off, chat. The shot clock was no good, but is it snack time? 4th quarter, locking in. Oh, chat, he just had to fire that one quick. Okay, powered up by the Celsius, chat. 4th quarter time, let's go. I guess shout out Celsius. I mean, who are we to not shout out brands? What kind of leverage do we have, chat? What it is, what it is. We'll shout them out. I guess these might just be like, you know, basic Target brand peanuts, but Shout out. Hey, shout out. We're shouting out brands. Shout out planners either way. This might not even be planners, but we'll pretend it is. This is planners. High quality. Shout out. We're bad businessmen. We're not even doing deals anymore. Free shout outs. Free plugs. Hey, yo. Free plugs. What kind of live stream is this, chat? Again, I think it's going to be moving off YouTube if they keep hearing stuff like that. But there, Gobert with the rebounding. I mean, if it's going to be Austin Reeves trying to box him out. Yeah, Gobert, settle down. The flopping is a little intense. Austin Reeves with the bloody nose. I mean, Austin Reeves isn't good. Well, the thing is, Gobert at this point, it's like, yeah, a player is going to... Anybody's going to... Anybody's knocking Gobert over at this point. The underrated offensive player, Rudy Gobert, as we said earlier. Clip that, chat. But hey, like, he was cooking in that clip. Gobert. Got to be one of the best... just Hall of Fame gym session players of all time. Just those random runs. Gobert and like a couple of G League guys, a couple of French national team guys. Gobert puts up 35, 16, and 12. I'm pretty sure it's happened, chat. But it's going to have to be Edwards. They are down 9. Oh, chat. That was a little Wade-esque right there. The little step through, almost travel on the mid-range shot. It's like, wait, are you allowed to take a step that late after the first one? But right to the side, right around Hachimura from the free throw line. You're like, okay, this is going to be a tough shot, but somehow gets open in the mid-range. Like, again, Wade, that was always the fun thing about Wade is Wade, I mean, he had little go-to, like, step backs and stuff that he could get to and just athletic swooping to the rim. Oh, long three from Edwards. Oh, chat. He's just a clutch player. He's him. What are you willing to sacrifice? He's him, chat. Shout out Jordan Peele. That movie looks intense. And Marlon Wayans looks like he's just going to have a... I mean, we're going to give MBJ his flowers to start the year, pause, and Marlon Wayans his flowers to end the year. Is that a November release? September? But Marlon Wayans a defining dramatic role. I think it's about to happen, chat. The 21st team all actors for 2025. Michael B. Jordan, Marlon Wayans. Who would have thought that? And Rudy Gobert for some of these flops. But Anthony Edwards, anyways, getting derailed. Anthony Edwards might be the star of him too. Jordan Peele, start writing it. That first one's obviously done. It's going to be a success. People are obviously, I mean, they've always been down for Jordan Peele, but now that Kugler's brought the competitiveness, chat, it's like, okay. And again, the thing was Kugler dipping his toe into that Peele, where the thing that Peele, maybe did he, well, I guess maybe he did have it in his bag anyways, over Kugler at this point, was the originality in his scripts. And again, not a thing that, like, Kugler's movies are worse. It's just, if you're comparing the actors, you say, like, okay, Kugler's filmography up until that point was, Creed, a couple of Black Panthers, Fruitvale Station, obviously an original film, but it's like, okay, there is some work off of some IP here that is being done, whereas if we're just talking, and again, like, Kugler's bringing these scripts to the table, and there's originality, and there's themes, and there's all the stuff is being brought to the scripts that make a great movie. So you're not, again, I'm not, it's never a doubt of Kugler's ability. It's just sort of, it is just like waiting for Kugler to sort of get his own team, I guess. And just like, can he get his own property? Can he get his own opportunity to be that lead guy? And we just had seen Peele, like, actually his own scripts. This is Peele's idea, his own characters, his own worlds, his own universes. And again, obviously Get Out is the generational talent. It's the first one of that as well, too. So, I mean, there's always something to that. I don't know, if we listen to some of the Kugler interviews as well, too, like, if this is one of those scripts where this was a story that he had thought of in the time that he has been making movies, or if this is one of those just like, oh, my whole life I've been, making this story, crafting this script, like, these are the ideas that, or, just the main sort of premise of it was something that he's really been batting around. Like, if just something is brewing for that long, chat, there's just no way that it's not. I mean, and that's why, of course, I think especially, back in the day as well, too, that a lot of classic, debut albums, a lot of debut albums were classic albums, and a lot of those early albums were so iconic is because of all of the work and time and not to say that, artists don't have the same rise. It's just more, the accessibility, I think, to some of the music, and then how that can prompt the artist to be releasing a lot of music earlier on is different nowadays. Whereas, and again, just the mainstream commercial, where, you know, artists can still have their commercial moment and their breakout moment, but now the ability to sort of back catalog all the stuff in an easier way, just it's right on the Spotify. You don't have to worry about, oh, wait a second, this album's like, you know, I can't find it in the store, but people are saying like, what about that old album from whatever? It's like, you know, you just, people build the hype, build the anticipation, and it's like, oh, they've been waiting their whole life to drop this album up until this point. But, you know, that's why those first scripts often obviously could be such dynamic scripts. But Peele, again, like, Coogler stepped into that arena of original script. Here's an amazing story, some powerful themes as well too, some iconic replay value, getting the best out of the actors. And I think, you know, well, I guess, you know, I don't know if we're doing a lot from a couple of trailers that we've seen in this breakdown chat. Doncic just can't be stopped. McDaniels, there's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing you can do. He's just Doncic spinning away at this point. Some of that mid-range stuff, his size, he can get that shot just whenever he wants. 50% from the field today, 35 points, up by 6. But, and again, I've seen parts of, what are the two movies, chat? Nope and Us. I unfortunately, haven't sat down and actually watched those two movies in full yet. But, you know, Get Out stays in the rotation enough, I think, for the two of those movies. It's just such an iconic movie that I don't want to necessarily, I guess, I know I'm not going to be let down by those movies, but again, they're obviously more controversial than Get Out. Like, everybody loves Get Out, and there are some people that are like, you know, Nope was, you know, it was okay. Us was okay. I feel like a lot of people like one or the other, but maybe not everybody likes both as unanimously. But I wonder if it's sort of the getting the best out of the actors in the same way, where, you know, I guess I'm going to butcher the name. Is it Kaluuya? You know, obviously the main character in Get Out, defining performance. Is that Allison Williams as the chick? You know, she's awesome. And I think that's the name, chat. And then it's a lot of, again, it's such a defining role for how great it was for those people, but not necessarily like the stacked movie cast and, this cast is, and again, you know, with all due respect, like, you know, it's not like, another De Niro, Pacino, Pesci classic. Just again, it's like, it's Bradley Whitman, I think, is the guy. Again, you got Allison Williams, you got Kaluuya, you got this collection of people just giving you all-time performance. And Peele, you know, giving the JJ Redick chat, he's giving these guys the best chance to succeed as a director. And that's, of course, Coogler was able to get the best performance out of Michael B. Jordan that we've seen. And people have been saying that as like a Michael B. Jordan finally had a good performance, but it's also, again, like, he had a defining performance. I think his performances up until this point is been great. Shout out again to our favorite pod, the All Fantasy Everything pod, Sean Jordan on that pod. One of the hosts, big Michael B. Jordan. I think maybe the only other guy that has more Michael B. Jordan stock out there than me at this point. So, you know, a couple of us out there value his actual ability as an actor, but that doesn't mean that you can't view it. You know, either way you look at his acting career, this performance is still that dynamic, that it's just the best one either way. And then, you know, Steinfeld, we haven't seen the Bumblebee movie yet, but probably her best acting performance of her career. And just, you know, go down the line, chat. You know, Delroy Lindo's had a pretty stacked career, but I mean, he's the funniest person in the movie, chat. We're talking about Sinners again. It is what it is. There's 5 minutes left in this game. Edwards is taking over the world, the basketball world, but Coogler's already taken over the film world, so it is what it is. Edward for 3. He's gonna have to actually settle down and get a good look. Doncic is just obviously a little bit step up, more of a shot maker at this point, where those looks have changed. But now they've got Randall switched onto him. If Randall can move his feet here, at least the strength of Randall, that'd be interesting. Hopefully he's just able to keep up. The hand quickness, though, he's in his space, chat. He knocks the ball away. Oh, and they call a foul. Randall, definitely a tough closeout, a physical contest, but they need the refs from the Pistons Knicks series in this one because he may have gotten away with that. Let's see here. Just great physicality, staying in his, yeah. He doesn't close out to the side. He closes out right in his space, and even if it's, you know, not the most, like, get his arm or whatever, Doncic does fall down a little bit, but you obviously can't close out right into the guy's space at that point. So that's 3 for Doncic, chat. That's killer. But at least you know that, again, Randall can hold out on a switch. That's just the problem. I think you know that Randall can physically hold up against Doncic. It's just that I think we were worried, can he stay in front of Doncic? It's just the entirety of the possession. Do you trust him to stay defensively sound? Again, whether it's staying in front of him or not overcommitting for a steal or not fouling or just whatever. And I think that's always going to be a tough spot for Doncic, but I think you have a little bit more trust in some of the defensive technique of a guy like Edwards and a guy like McDaniels. The problem is they just, again, can't necessarily physically hold up. Doncic is about to have literally 40 points at this point. He's at 37, with the chance to get 38 if he gets his free throw here. But, yeah, Gobert, very short-lived tenure. 26 minutes, I guess. So we got little 4-minute run for Gobert in this game. So 5 minutes left. I imagine we have probably seen the last of our guy Rudy. Doncic scored the last 7 points. You imagine, it's going to be heavy Doncic ISO, but they needed Reeves in that third quarter there to get him back in the game. What did he add for the game? 5 for 11, 4 for 9 from 3. Yeah, really picked up his scoring there. Of course, big minutes. But now they're going Naz Reid with the switch onto Luka. I mean, Luka's going to be hunting these guys out, but Reid is now staying in front of Doncic as well, too. Doncic is just too crafty. He could have gotten that layup to go, but he missed it. So, credit to Reid for staying in front and challenging. Now Reid trailing on the other end for 3. There it is, chat. Naz Reid's a playoff dude. Naz Reid, you can't leave him open in the playoff games, especially in fourth quarter. Naz Reid's clutch, chat. Naz Reid will put the fear in you, chat. Hey, yo. Naz Reid from the corner. Naz Reid firing away. I don't know if he's entering Robert Horry territory, but he is in a... And I know Simmons is, I'm pretty sure he's called for a role player Hall of Fame. If not, then I can't, I would be surprised that I'm just thinking of that idea originally. And then that's, not in the subconscious from reading his basketball book. But the idea of, again, the great role player who was in, is Naz Reid qualifying for the role player Hall of Fame. It does, 6th man of the year candidate. So you don't want to necessarily just make it every time a guy wins a 6th man of the year, he's a lock for the role player Hall of Fame. But there's a correlation. And, obviously that type of role of guy that can elevate a little bit more, and then you want him off the bench to help some of the offensive stuff. But Horry was never gonna lead the, well, I guess we can't necessarily speak for peak Horry days, but Horry in San Antonio and Lakers and some of those teams, you weren't necessarily gonna run the offense through him. Maybe you could in we need it for a 4-minute stretch of a Duncan Robinson type way, a supercharged version of that. But were they even thinking that way? Even in the 2000s, And, again, with Shaq and Kobe and the balance of those two guys, and, Derek Fisher being a ball handler. Rick Fox is going to take too many shots here, chat. I'm making a mess. I need a napkin. Do you have a napkin in the studio, chat? What's the situation in here? The problem is I just cleaned up, so we may not. How do you get nice and tidy for recording time, chat? It is what it is. Oh well. We're getting close, I guess. 4 minutes left. Oh, chat. Excuse me. I guess we'll just have to keep making a mess. This is disgusting and unprofessional, chat. This is actually gross. Who else has melted chocolate chips all over their hands while they're recording a live stream during a Lakers Timberwolves game? This is unprofessional, chat. Don't unsubscribe, honestly, if you subscribe. This is not good. We'll earn the subscription back, I guess, over the course of the end of the fourth quarter here. Maybe not, though, if we just keep diving into this jar. Next time, chat. Unsubscribe, but tune in next time to see if we earn that subscription back to the Remington Pod. LeBron, 18 free throws? Expect a couple more then in the final 4 minutes here. Make no mistake. He definitely knows how he's going to get his points tonight. LeBron, it's rigged, chat. Is it rigged? What's the Mind in the Game pod say about Rigging the league. Episode 6. How to rig the league in your favor. Is that going to be when they have... Who's that ref, chat? I'm getting sweaty talking about LeBron rigging the league. IT, cut this out. What is that? What's that ref that got taken down? It's not Doherty. The problem is Brad Doherty's also on first team All Rim and Sam, so I just keep thinking of Brad Doherty's name. But Brad Doherty was a good player. So the ref that was gambling for games, bad player. Bad player, chat. I think that was like Tim Donaghy. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if Donaghy's going to be the guest in the next Mind the Game pod, but LeBron's got 18 free throws tonight. So, Lakers up by 2. The ESPN stream is a little bit ahead, but they didn't give him the call on that drive. And, you know, I guess I was going to say he didn't get the call on defense on that block earlier, but I think that was a pretty clean block as well, too. So, you can't necessarily be too mad at that. Oh, where did Donovan Edwards go in the draft chat? They were just showing his stats for the draft. Oh, now Edwards fouled for 3. Is that Doncic making up for the 3-point foul on the other end? Did Doncic get that foul? Sorry, Donovan Edwards. Just the name of another Michigan player. And I get distracted. Yeah, it's Doncic on Edwards. So if you get Doncic sort of forcing Edwards into a step back 3, you'll take that. But, of course, clean closeout necessary. And Edwards... I mean, these 3 could give him the lead here, down by 2. Oh, I guess the TV's already spoiling. I gotta move off this ESPN stream chat. Let's just go to this Mel Kiper live draft grade situation. Oh yeah, Cleveland A+. I wonder why. From Mel Kiper Jr. So let's just sit on this for a second while we wait for this game to wrap up, because I don't want any spoilers. These games have been too good. The playoffs. If this was the regular season, I wouldn't care, but do we need to be more of a journalist than the fan than the playoffs? Yes, but the problem is, again, the playoff games are better, so I just turned into more of a fan than a journalist. But now they have the lead. First lead since it was 61-60. Randall, is he in the game? He is. And he gets the Doncic assignment again. This time, Doncic gives it up. So it's a LeBron. Oh, Hachimura. In the P.J. Washington role. Last year it was P.J. Washington hitting those threes. So, I mean, if you're Minnesota, Randall gets Doncic to give up the ball. LeBron, of course, makes a good pass to the open player, but now LeBron swings the ball. He doesn't have it with 3:30 left. Hachimura's just going to hit open threes like that, chat. That's the finals contending difference type stuff that you need to have happen. Which, you know, I don't know if we need to necessarily always compare the LA teams, but if you were comparing Hachimura to guys in the Clippers, that'd be an interesting conversation of the Clippers you think are the deeper team around their superstar players. But again, Hachimura, just the peak version of him, the size, the three-point shooting that he can provide, is an interesting guy. And his consistency, like what is Rui's? We got to go cross-handed on the mouse. We got food all over the keyboard. This is disgusting, chat. A disgusting, disgusting fourth quarter performance on the Rim and Sam pod here. My apologies to IT, but I'm forgetting. And just me holding this chocolate here in this jar, I feel like that's all a pause, but it's just like melting. This is not good, chat. We should actually stop. Should we actually find a... This is like a clutch moment of the game, but let me see if I can find... Okay. We got to take a 30-second break. Your boy's made a mess, chat. He didn't think this through. Oh, no. Naz Reid. Naz Reid ended the Nuggets, chat. They could go up 3-1. If they win this game, they're up 3-1. The series is over. Over. Naz Reid, don't do it to a brother. Nico Harrison should have traded for Naz Reid. Oh, Doncic missed a 3. Edwards the rebound. Minnesota up 1. Can we rinse our hands off with this Celsius, chat? Edwards settling for the tough fadeaway step back. Full speed going to his right. Oh, chat, I just located a napkin under the TV. We're set. Okay, we can walk back into the game. Doncic with Naz Reid on the switch. The power forwards have been holding. Oh, Naz Reid, why'd you leave Doncic? He gave it up, and Reeves misses the three, but Naz Reid gambles. Naz Reid gambles by leaving Doncic to the double. He's just flying around right now. Oh, man, Edwards, don't settle. Give it up. They're doubling. He finds DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo drives. He hangs. He finishes. Chappos. Oh, and they call the foul. Dante DiVincenzo. Edwards, that's not the cleanest look out of the double team, chat, but you'll take it. And DiVincenzo, that's why you have him on the team, because he can create off the dribble, and that's the ability to not just make up for, it's not necessarily a bad pass. Like, it's a good look. You get it out to the perimeter, you reset after the double, and that's the whole point, is now the defense is scrambling in a disadvantage now with the numbers because they've doubled. And you have a guy, obviously, like DiVincenzo that can attack out of that double team. But that is just a, great job. Patience getting to the rim. Edwards settling down, and just the start of what will be continued cleaning up of that playmaking stuff and continuing to learn the pace of the offense. And at the end of the day, it's the defense of this team that is the winning, trait, the physicality that is going to be able to take this team to the top. So 2 minutes left, chat. 2-minute warning. Lakers on the side inbound. Okay, Doncic with McDaniels. Don't even... Oh, chat, he gave it up. Reeves. Oh, chat, Lakers down 1. Reeves with the big three. Doncic had McDaniels. So if you're going to... It's like, don't switch, just attack. That's the guy that you want to take. But he lets Reeves, the second half, Reeves has been cooking. He lets Reeves take the shot there. DiVincenzo again. Why does he think he can attack LeBron? LeBron with the block. He's going to hustle. Reeves, LeBron's in the corner. Get it to Reeves. It's Finney Smith. Finney Smith takes the lead. Timeout, Dallas. The Lakers are the ones, remember, down 2-0. They are on the road. Minnesota needs this maybe as much to go up 3-1. Going back to LA with the series tied is a tough spot, but LeBron got that just as it started to go down. He got that just at the peak, chat. Perfect block. Wow, and a clutch three by Finney Smith. A couple of clutch threes by the role players from LA. Wow, chat. Okay, we got to take a quick break. I got this yeah, we made a mess eating those snacks. Chat, give us a second. We'll be back. Okay, there we go, chat. Now we're locked in. Now we can... It's okay if we accidentally touch the hat or the Wemby jersey. We won't get any stains anywhere, but... Edwards now with the ball, top of the key. It's Finney Smith with the Edwards responsibility. So, or Rui out on DiVincenzo in kind of a, freer safety, switchability, and just, good matchup type role as well, too. But no Reeves on DiVincenzo in that spot. No Conley on the court, so Reeves on McDaniels, I guess I didn't see on that possession, but Doncic just delegates once again. James the deep three. And now LeBron's the one that misses, chat. Come on, Finney Smith and Hachimura made their three-pointers. Reeves made his three-pointer. So, LeBron, what are we doing? I guess Doncic up next, chat. Oh, beautiful ball movement by Minnesota. Who got the foul on McDaniels? Was that LeBron again, or was that Reeves? Oh, Chad, 39 seconds. McDaniels with a chance to take the lead. And Doncic is just going to have to get an ISO and score here. LeBron, no. LeBron didn't double over there. So, yeah, Reeves from the backside. Pause. With the foul. McDaniels sinks the free throw. 1-point lead for Minnesota. So, again, it's been the delegation, but it's been him delegating off of not attacking. He's been getting the ball to top and swinging early. He hasn't been letting the defense double or set up. Oh, and Doncic trips. Doncic falls down. Yeah, McDaniels wants a travel, but Redick wants a foul. Redick is livid. Either way, I think they get lucky. Both teams, so just keep it moving. I guess if you have to use a timeout to make up for it, it's not ideal. But I guess if you're sliding across the floor, that's technically not taking a step either. But again, Doncic creating the mismatch, shifting the defense, then swinging out for three, then the rotation. That was that three-pointer we saw earlier when he moved it around to LeBron. This time, he's barely even letting the double approach. Or, if McDaniels, are they even going to send the double? Like, let's see if they actually send the double. I mean, you're Luka Doncic. You know how to fight off a double team. Don't forget who you are, chat. You're Luka Doncic. He'll be okay if they actually do end up heading in that direction. But this was another reason why I believed in the Timberwolves, because I told you guys I believe in Naz Reid as a playoff guy. Naz Reid, and I don't know if I can just be like, Naz Reid can get you 20 in a playoff series, but he can get you 18. He can get you 15 and a half, which I think is important again in these playoff series. Maybe we even start breaking it down, half to half, quarter to quarter. Can you get a guy that steps in for a quarter and swings a game? That's Naz Reid. That's our boy. Is it Nazir Reed? It doesn't say. Oh, Nazirion. I can't read, chat. I gotta actually pull up the page here. Yeah, Nazirion. Hilton Reed. Oh, McDaniels with the steal, chat. The Lakers have 8 seconds of a difference between the shot and game clock, but the Wolves still have a 1-point lead. Edwards with Finney-Smith. It's an ISO. Doncic goes to double. The double off McDaniels. They did give it to DiVincenzo for the ISO, so that worked out. Edwards slips, ball off his knee. No foul on the Lakers. I mean, that was the most predictable no foul call of all time, but he did kind of slip. So Finch will review this. I mean, there's 9.5 seconds left. What do you do, Chad? Of course, you got to review it. But DiVincenzo, unfortunately, Edwards and DiVincenzo kind of drove into the same spot. So it did work. I mean, Edwards had a good drive. That was good defense by LeBron, honestly. Let's see that again. Did he just get ball there? Pause. I think he might have. Is that, oh, man, the LeBron center stuff is crazy. I mean, LeBron, chat. What are we going to do? Glaze alert? More glaze? Pause. Hey, yo, whoa. But I mean, he had that block on DiVincenzo earlier, which is like a should LeBron block DiVincenzo? Sure, but that's a from the center straight up, again, just getting up at the highest point and swatting it versus that full speed jumping start in transition. Okay, so he just announced the review. I thought by this time they should have been announcing the result of the review, but yeah, I guess we should have been watching more on who the ball went off of at that point. We were watching just to see if LeBron got a clean strip, but it looked like majority off. I mean, in the park, Chuck, that's off of Edwards. I guess that's probably off of LeBron, and you just give it back to the offense at that point. But 9.5 seconds, I guess you still only get, because there's no change of possession, still only a short amount of time on the shot clock, but it would be baseline out of bounds. So if you're the Lakers, you still have your timeout as well. You can still potentially get this with 5.5 to 6 seconds left, and be across half court as well too, and set yourself up for a play. But if you have 10 seconds and that timeout, maybe you're in 2-play territory as well, or Doncic just more time to set up his isolation at the top of the key. But I mean, I don't know how we're not just, of course, just doing that. Pause. And the McDaniels thing, clear out. I don't honestly know you bring the pick and roll over at this point. Like, if Gobert's not in the game, he's just motivated to make buckets over Rudy Gobert. So, obviously, you get Gobert to switch if that's the case. But outside of that, I think McDaniels and, I guess if you could try to hunt DiVincenzo with 10 seconds or something like that. But Doncic has proven that mid-range stuff. He's 37 tonight. He's 50%. He's gotten those looks all game. And, yeah, maybe sometimes he's still a little again, 50% does feel pretty accurate for Doncic. You do feel sometimes a little 50-50 on those shots. But that's actually 50% is good for the NBA. So, you'll take Doncic taking a little more difficult one-on-one shot because of Doncic's just capabilities at that spot. But, you could do the Hachimura 3 pause. And, earlier as well, too, we saw him on that out-of-bounds play set up that Reeves 3. And it was off of that Doncic look. They knew the Doncic double, so it was just quick to Reeves. Reeves got an open look. So they trust Reeves as much as anybody on this team as a third man. I mean, his big shot-making capabilities, they could easily set this up for him. Overturned. It's Minnesota's ball. They did put a couple of seconds. They put about a full second back on the clock. Oh, wow, chat. They went straight to the microscope for this one. Let's see. Let's see. They called that off of LeBron. Oh, they called a foul on LeBron? Whoa, chat. So that means free throws for Anthony Edwards. Now you need to take a 3. Oh, I thought the ball don't lie. It sputtered out there for a second, but he makes the free throw. So either Anthony Edwards is too good or it actually was a foul, chat. But you're going to get 10.7, and I guess the Lakers don't have a timeout. So they're going to have to set up for 3 right away. Doncic, it's up to you, buddy. You're going to have to take this. LeBron with the inbound. Doncic with McDaniels. Rui, get out of there. The switch. He brings Naz Reid over. Reid can double. Oh, LeBron to Reeves in the corner. Reeves off the back of the rim. He missed the shot. Hachimura brought Naz Reid over, and that cut off the Doncic drive at half court. What are we doing, Hachimura? I get the idea of it, but let Doncic cook. Let Doncic not necessarily get to the rim, but if he's going full head of steam, he can get a foul potentially. Oh, chat, the Lakers are down 3-1. Minnesota, chat. We said Minnesota in, I don't even remember what we said. I just said Minnesota was going to win this series, but could they do it in 5? Is LeBron going to have to make another historic comeback? This time with Luka Doncic instead of Kyrie? But Anthony Edwards, chat. The defense of Minnesota. Naz Reid. Wow. Naz Reid, chat. He cut off the drive to the baseline. And Naz Reid and Randall. I mean, that's the 2 perfect guys to take out Doncic there. LeBron once again just delegating to the corner. But he's honestly, the spacing was not good enough. He got too deep on that. And Edwards was just able to contest right off of LeBron to Reeves. So, to be honest, the play might have been to Hachimura at the top of the, back the other way, just because maybe the double's not able to rotate over quick enough, but that's back from where he's baseline. That's back into the middle of the court, kind of away from where he's dribbling from, and I don't know if he's able to see that as well, chat, but wow, what a game, chat. What a stretch of basketball. And hopefully the rest of these games are, still as good, chat. We've got 2 more games tonight. I think we've got Bucks versus Milwaukee, and then what was the other game as well, too? Let me see here, chat. Oh, I guess we could just look it up over here. Oh, yeah, Boston-Orlando is the next series up as well, too. Tatum, of course, back. Tatum and Paolo. I mean, that's going to be... I think the 2 draft picks for the 2 most competitive games were these first 2 games. ESPN definitely would have won that, but these still have a chance. And Giannis at home, down 1-2 with a chance to even the series. Giannis could be a menace tonight, chat. We've seen some great games. Doncic with a stat line of the day, I think, so far, with his 38. Of course, Cade with the... I don't know, Cade had an historic performance. So, and Doncic was -3 in the game. 38, 2, and 1 Reeves 17, 7, and 4. LeBron 23, 5. Or sorry, that's Hachimura. LeBron 27, 12, and 8. Chat. 3 steals, 3 blocks is crazy. Crazy. Do we need to do a stat check for LeBron? I imagine maybe the 27, 12, 8, 3, and 3 is weirdly a little more common. Just that one more block, chat. But again, the 10 assists part of it as well, too. So wait, did he have 25? That's a lot of stats there for LeBron, chat. Okay, 27. I guess if we just want to maximize it and get the best of the best performance, 27, 12, 8, 3 blocks, and then we'll add steals on to our stat filter here, chat, real quick, and see what we get for LeBron. Again, in a playoff game specifically as well. Nobody! So LeBron with a 1 of 1 stat line. I don't know if Basketball Reference is being totally accurate with their searches today. I think we might need to... Or maybe just the playoff criteria. Again, the problem is the modern NBA, you don't want to say it's easier for these guys to put up stat lines, but, you know, especially offensively, it just is, chat. It just is. So it's still awesome that these guys are putting up these historic stat lines, but it's not always super surprising to go in as well, too. It's a little, like, yeah, it is 1 of 1. Like, this is the modern NBA, 3-pointers and all that stuff. But Wilt never put up a 27, 12, 8, 3, and 3. So LeBron and Cade, I mean, Cade was matched by Ralph Sampson, I guess. So LeBron not even matched by Ralph Sampson. LeBron might actually be winning stat line of the day, chat. 5 for 9. I guess it was all the free throws. Jesus. I don't know if we have to calculate that into the stat head performance and make it even more rare. But yeah, I guess shout out, chat. What a day. What a day. That was great. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders taking the mantle from LeBron in Cleveland. We'll see what Skip Bayless has to say about him taking over that city potentially as well, too. But who knows? Skip Bayless might start saying Steph is a better Cleveland athlete than LeBron as well. LeBron's second best athlete out of Akron. Who knows, chat? Again, quoting Skip there. I'm not sure. Not quoting Skip. Impersonating Skip, we should say. Jane Daniels, 6 for 11. Yeah, Edwards, 14 of 17 from the free throw line. 43 points, chat. A real turning point game. Another Hardwood Classics day. This day will just be a day that is replayed. At least these last 2 games, there'll be a day, 20, 25 years in the future, just replay these games in a Sunday afternoon. You'd be like, oh, that was a great Sunday afternoon, chat. Watching those games. As well, dude, lock it in. The Pluto TV 2020, or more like 2046 programming, maybe. Who knows? But the Rem and Sam 2025 April programming keeps tuning on, chat. Chugging along, tuning in, plugging on, pause, whatever you want to say. Hey, yo, chat. But it's here on the YouTube at Rem and Sam. If you unsubscribed and you want to subscribe again, and at the end here, that'd be cool. Either way, subscribe if you haven't. I guess just, however that, just the subscription thing, chat, it's out there. And the episodes as well, too, go up on the podcast feeds later. So they are available in that style of format if you guys want them that way. Pause. And the messages are open. The DMs are open on Instagram at Rem and Sam Pod over there as well, too. If you guys want to get a hold of us, say what's up. If you want to... if you have things to say about Shedeur Sanders going to the Browns, we want to hear him. If you have something to say about the playoff action that we just saw today, we want to hear it. If you have any secret playoff preview, NFL preview bets now that the NFL draft has happened, and you want to give us a heads up, that would be appreciated as well too, chat. But either way, like I said, messages over there are available. The Instagram, the YouTube, all the stuff. It's just a good time, chat. Just a fun hang. So we appreciate it. For you guys, making it a fun hang and for showing up and for hanging out with us. But we will be back, of course, later this week. Stay tuned. Watching more playoff games. Watching who knows what, chat. Watching a lot of stuff recently. So it could be playoffs. It could be anything. You never know. The world is yours, chat. Nas said it best. So the Rem and Sam Pod is the place to be, regardless of what it is. And like I said, we'll be back later this week. So enjoy the rest of your day, chat, and enjoy, I guess, the next couple of days before we see you again